Just a couple of guys, a couple microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 7 here of Football on the Know. We're back. We've had a great break. I feel really refreshed, Joe.
You should.
I think I've gained a few pounds again, though, just chilling.
I mean, that just kind of goes with the deal, right?
Doesn't it,
You
though?
know?
But it's been relaxing. But, I'm excited to get back. A lot of news. We let it build up,
A lot of
Joe.
news.
So it's built up. A lot of tension,
Yeah.
a lot of things
lot of
going
suspense.
on, a lot of movement, Joe.
A lot of
But pleasure to be
anticipation.
back. Here we go. There he is, my man, Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Noodles? That's right. We are back, baby, for the 7th season of our beautiful show that we have here. And thanks to everybody out there for tuning in. I know a lot of you guys like to comment and everything, and we really do appreciate it. We love the questions. We love the intel and everything, especially news that drops. Like, we even have a couple of our know-it-alls out there that drop news right in the middle of our show when it happens. So that's pretty cool. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Hey, very simple. Help out our channel grow a little bit more than before, because we got a little bit of help last season. We need a lot more help here. So head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. Also, get your thumbs up, hit those likes, drop comments down below. We're going to read them all. Like this, that's what this show is all about, is interaction. So we love to give out some knowledge, but also we like to get some intel from you guys as well. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Make sure you do that. You can also follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. And, let's get into this show. This is the beginning now. We are in a sweet spot, if you will. Mm-hmm. Yes, we weren't live for the very beginning of free agency or whatever, because the long and the short of it is really we were expecting to take a longer break this time around. Mm-hmm. We were expecting to come back probably the end of March and reevaluate everything then. But we got the itch. It was news was happening, news is flying around, and we just couldn't. We couldn't hold out that long. So here we are, and let's get right into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're going to jump around a little bit and stuff like that, because I don't think we're going to go through every division and all this other junk.
No, it don't need
The
to.
big news right now, I think, is the shuffle up of quarterbacks. I mean, that's got to be the talk of the whole NFL right now, just because so many different guys. I'm even looking for highlights for our new video and stuff, and I can't even find a highlight from last season where it's not somebody that's not with that team throwing to somebody. You know what I mean? And this is what's crazy about this. Mainly the big name, I think, for me, that has a lot of people talking, and some of the differences, with the teams. Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers here again, being released by the Denver Broncos after going in on that big old payday and everything.
Worst contract ever.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be, because, again, they're ready to give up that quickly here on all this. But what a good pickup, I think, for the Steelers and what they're doing, kind of, because they don't lose out on anything on this. They got him on the cheap, and, when the funny story behind it all is that they decide to go get a Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then what does that tell you about Kenny Pickett? So obviously Kenny Pickett is upset because, he thinks he's the starter, but he hasn't been playing the best and staying healthy as well. So Russell Wilson comes into this quarterback room and he has a problem with it. And so they say, you know what, then
he should.
We'll trade you or whatever. So and then he gets traded. They go to he goes to the Eagles and get rid of him because he doesn't want to deal with all that. Which like you said, I understand. But then we've been hearing about Justin Fields on the trading block this whole time with Chicago Bears. And lo and behold, the Steelers now double down and go get Justin Fields from the Bears for a 6th-round pick. But if he ends up being starting as a quarterback or moving on, that will move up to a 4th-rounder for the Bears. So it's kind of funny because, again, they get Russell Wilson on the cheap and they get Justin Fields on the low. So there's nothing but nothing to risk, but a pretty good reward possibly for the Steelers.
It's a funny situation for Pittsburgh because I applaud Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett should be pissed off. He should be. Yeah. He was the starter for the Steelers. So going into it, you're like, I'm going to develop, I'm going to get better, and I'm going to be even better for this upcoming season than before. And that's what his expectation is. He's working hard in the offseason and whatnot, and then all of a sudden the news comes out, oh, we just signed Russell Wilson. for $1 million. Basically, it's league veteran minimum money. $1 million because Denver's picking up the rest of the tab, the other $39 million. So that's why Russell Wilson. And here's the interesting part of it, and people are going to ask why. Why is Russell Wilson willing to sign a contract for just $1 million? You know, being the status that he has, being the quarterback that he is, like, yeah, he's not the same exact Russell Wilson of old, the Super Bowl champion, but he's still a decent quarterback. So people are still kind of like, they're puzzled by this. And I'll tell you why. Because the reason why Russell Wilson was willing to do this is that it's almost a big FU to Denver. Because whatever he signed for, it comes off the tab from Denver. So if he went and signed, let's just say, a $10 million one-year contract, now instead of Denver paying $39, now they pay $29. So in other words, he's like, no, I want them to be screwed. I want them to pay as much as possible. So that's why that signing happened the way it did. And then, like you said, the news with Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh. And a lot of people, me included, I'm like, why? You just signed Russell Wilson. Now you have Kenny Pickett as a backup, but you still go ahead and you. So this tells me a lot. So this tells me that Pittsburgh kind of made their minds up and said, "Listen, we know we've only had Pickett for a couple years, but do we really think that he can take us to the promised land? Do we really think that he could get us over the hump in this division?" And the answer was no. So they decided to make a change. And we've heard reports out of Pittsburgh before about how Mike Tomlin kind of likes to he would love to have a more mobile quarterback in his offense and hopefully kind of change that offense a little bit than to the tried and true hand off the ball and then we'll do what we have to after that. So here he has an opportunity. He went and got Russell Wilson here, and on the cheap. And you're going to be able, he still has wheels. You're going to be able to kind of create an offense that is going to be in what you envision it should be in Pittsburgh. It's going to be different than what Pittsburgh fans are used to, but nonetheless, they have it. Now, the whole thing with Fields is kind of bothers me because Fields had other opportunities. The report is that Fields had his pick, so to speak. Like he didn't have a no trade clause, but the Bears and the ownership were willing to say, "Hey, these teams are interested. We have these few teams that have made offers." You know what I mean? And they gave him the benefit of that. Like, would you be okay with any of these? Only a couple of these? Like, what are you feeling? And apparently he was like, I don't want to go to any of those other teams. I just want to go to Pittsburgh. Because I'm just assuming that he feels that he has a bigger potential to beat out Russell Wilson for the starting job. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
And the other thing too was like Vegas came calling, and they were probably one of the first teams to contact Chicago about him. And actually the first team to make a serious offer, which was higher than a 6, by the way. And he didn't want to go there because he was intimidated by Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Two younger quarterbacks that he would have to compete against. But my thing is, if that's how you think, if you're thinking that, oh, I don't want to go. They got 2 young quarterbacks. I don't want to do that much competition. I'd rather go to a place where this guy potentially could be here for a year and then gone, and then I can take over. And that way I don't have to really outplay too much. You know, I don't have to have that high caliber competition, which it's really not that crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I would trust in yourself. If you believe that would have been a better situation for you, why wouldn't you just go do it and say, no, I'm going to compete and I'm going to win the job? But instead you took the road to Pittsburgh under Russell Wilson. And there's reports out of Pittsburgh that they are going to actually give Russell Wilson an extension. So it's not like he's there for 1 year and done. And you know that Russell Wilson wouldn't sign if he didn't know that he had a shot of not being the starter. You know what I mean? Like that was in jeopardy at all. Like, no, he signed with Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh's like, we want you to be our starter. Let's make it happen. And now they're even talking about extension. So what does that mean? Like, Russell Wilson isn't that young. So are they going to give him like maybe a 3-year extension for this guy? And if that's the case, Justin Fields 27. If that in fact happens all in full, he's going to be 30 years old by the time he even sees maybe the field.
Yeah.
But in that time, Pittsburgh's going to be probably drafting another quarterback. So potentially Justin Fields, you just screwed yourself out of a starting quarterback opportunity. Literally. If this is how it goes, is how it's trending towards, you are now a career backup for the rest of your career.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, again, it's the way we'll see how Russell Wilson plays. I mean, we'll see how that lays out. That is the key to everything with that team. But like you said, I think with Tomlin too, I think now for the first time, I think in his career with them, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's like they're ready to possibly, he's on the chopping block, to move on, to do something differently because they're not happy with the way the team has been the last couple of seasons.
Right. Trying to make some moves.
Yeah. And I think some of the other big news here is, speaking of quarterbacks here, Kirk Cousins, I was thinking possibly that the Minnesota Vikings would figure something out and they would stick around and stuff like that. But again, Kirk Cousins, somebody talk to his agent on how to get deals, keep getting the money rolling in, because this guy keeps making bank every single time and every single time his contract's up. And he goes to Atlanta Falcons here, and that's a whole new look here for the Falcons. Falcons making a lot of moves here, and having Kirk Cousins here, I think, is a big move for them and this offense of what they've been struggling to since Matt Ryan started to have his down years, and they've been struggling trying to find that quarterback, and they haven't. And now Kirk Cousins here in the tail end of his career, but now it makes it kind of this team and this offense kind of have a little upside to it now, because they've got some youth here along with them. Now maybe this is the thing that they needed, and they can actually project themselves or propel into a further position and make a run, because even saw last year, despite, the lack of, I'd say personnel or things like that, they actually really played a lot of teams tough, and we're in that division even for a long time here. And so now that you got Kirk Cousins, you hope you get over that hump in a division to where it was kind of a hodgepodge of things, and we kind of saw
trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and saw the Bucs all of a sudden rise out of that whole thing. So it was tough to follow who was going to come out of there.
Yeah, and the Bucs, it took them a while to get there. Like, they were like a work in progress throughout the season. So kudos to them at the end of the year, and Baker Mayfield getting his new deal. But like with Atlanta, of course this changes everything. And last year wasn't because of lack of personnel. They had a lot of pieces already. It was more about the quarterback was holding them back. Yeah. Desmond Ridder, honestly, listen, I wasn't the highest on him coming out of the draft for good reason, because I think he needed a lot of development. And you saw that on the football field. But now it's gotten to the point where we've had evidence of him being on the field, and in more than like a few games, like he played the majority of the season, and it's like, okay, I've seen enough. Like a couple of seasons of seeing him play that leadership role in the quarterback position, I'm good. Like, I'm ready to move on. I mean, I'm not even an Atlanta fan, and I'm just like, dude, just stop starting him. Even I understand, even if Taylor Heineke wasn't the answer, it's like, why are you playing musical chairs with the quarterbacks? Just when you made that decision to move on from Ridder and start Taylor, just stick with that for the rest of the year and be done. And then kind of revisit that this year. But now that Kirk Cousins is coming in, of course it's a huge upgrade. It's not just an upgrade because you have now you can say you have a starting quarterback, but this guy is really good. Like he might get dogged by a lot of critics out there and everything, but man, this guy can ball out. He's a very good quarterback, and Minnesota fans will tell you that they are going to miss him. Like it's not a joke. Like this is going to definitely propel this offense of theirs to that standard of high profile play. Like they already have very young and very good pieces on that side of the ball. You think about Drake London, who's now going to be healthy. Kyle Pitts, we're kind of a chess piece, B.J. Robinson Bijan Robinson that they bring in as a rookie last year blew up. Like, he was amazing, and that he was supposed to be. It was anticipated that way. They had a solid offensive line, so what was missing? It was just the quarterback. So now what's really kind of scary for Atlanta, and not in a bad way, in a good way, is that think of all those pieces that you have right now. You got a solid offensive line, not the best, but a solid offensive line, and it's going to get better. You already have your cornerstone in the backfield. You have a couple of weapons on the outside. Now, it's just going to get better because here comes the draft. And the draft has a ton, and I mean a ton of weapons to choose from. So if they go that route again, whether it be wide receiver or whatever, tight end or something, it's going to get even more dangerous for that team. And if they continue to also build that defense like they did the last couple of years with the older regime, things are looking up for Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Joe. I mean, it's definitely interesting, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with them coming out of that division. Let's take a look at even the team now that he left, making a lot of moves in free agency, the Minnesota Vikings. But now after Kirk Cousins moves on, you've got Sam Darnold now that they've offered a 1-year contract to there, and he's there at the helm. They go out and, after they move on from Madison, they've got Aaron Jones now in the backfield. So there's a different, scenario and change of scenery for Aaron Jones.
How weird is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about that. Like, this has happened more than once to the Packers.
Yeah.
Like, Brett Favre left. He ended up going to the Vikings, and it was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. We see this a lot, though, within divisions, though. Don't we see free agents just
steal
go
talent.
to the teams around there back and forth? Yeah, absolutely.
I get you.
I mean, I'm seeing it right now with Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles. I'm like, are you kidding me? What a kick in the balls. And people are really going after, Saquon for it and stuff like that. But I really don't care. There's no
I wouldn't go
ill will
after him.
there.
But here's the thing, is he was chasing money.
Yeah.
They got he's the highest paid running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Or second, whatever. Christian McCaffrey makes a ton of money too.
Yeah.
So, but that's what it ended up being.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I love the Giants, so if they give me a give me a raise, but at the same
deal,
but not really a hometown discount, but you're gonna have to pay him.
Yeah.
But you think about and the other thing too is like, it's not just like I'm going to a different team. It's not just I'm going to sign a bigger deal with this other team. It's more about too like environment. Like maybe he didn't like being in New York City or something. Maybe his family wanted to get out of there. I mean, not that like you're going to another big city in Philadelphia. It's not like
like I said, he went to Penn State too, and everything like that.
And it's like more.
Part of it.
It's more local where he used to play. So it's like maybe that had something to do with it. You never know with these things because it's not always about dollars and cents.
Yep.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like there's also like other things that they think about, like life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where do I want to live? Where do I want my kids to get raised in? So there's other aspects to it, but nonetheless, he signed for the bag for sure. And it's really odd to see him in green.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be,
all these players that have
simulated,
changed.
versions of it to see what it looks like. But yeah, when he actually walks out on the field and I get to see him twice this season, like that. So we'll
kick
see.
him in the kneecap.
Yeah, there you go. I'll go down there. But yeah, I mean, the Vikings again making a lot of different moves, a lot of signings throughout there, including Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, Jonah Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on. Shaquille Griffin. So they move on from Kirk Cousins. So it seems like to me now this regime, because they kind of adopted into having Kirk Cousins, you know what I mean? Because he was already there, had that bigger deal.
Right.
So
it worked
maybe
out.
now they're like, all right, we're here. We're going to try and find our quarterback or at least set things the way we want to. But they were, again, very active in free agency. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the draft. But in that kind of rebuild mode,
think about it now.
With Sam Darnold.
Think about it now. Minnesota's gearing up for something big because they have their 11th pick in the first round. And now recently, in the past couple of weeks, they've traded for the 23rd overall pick. Traded up into the 23rd overall pick, so from Houston. So now they own 2 number ones this year. What's interesting about that is because everybody knows they need a quarterback. I'm thinking they're going to try. They're going to attempt to make a big trade happen to where they move up in the top 5 to get a quarterback, to get someone that they're targeting and they like.
Those. Yeah.
So people are speculating. People are even speculating because it's going to be really fun to talk about as we get closer to the draft. But an idea is that, and it sounds crazy, it really does. It's a crazy idea. But Jim Harbaugh, now that he's with the Chargers at number 5, how much in love is he with Justin Herbert? People are saying like maybe because he loves J.J. McCarthy, that maybe he could move Herbert, trade him to the Vikings, get draft capital, and then draft J.J. McCarthy because he's in love with him. If that happens, I'll just say this. If that happens, he is an absolute idiot, should be fired.
Right. I mean, that would be shocking. That would
already-
be the shock of the draft.
It's just
probably.
like some of these other teams where you already have a proven starter.
Yes.
Why move on from him in hopes of, I'm bringing my boy in and hopefully he lights it up? Because if he doesn't, your job's on the line. So,
Well, especially when, again, look at Michigan and how they were such a run-heavy team.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's his offense.
It didn't really showcase the quarterback, like
Not
some
a
of
lot.
these other
Little bit, but not a
offenses
lot.
have. So, again, that's why I think with J.J. McCarthy, I think his value is kind of weird. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just
I don't think
depends
so.
on how, you look at him. I don't know. It's tough because
So here's
I
the
guess
thing.
it's kind of like what you're looking for.
here's the thing: is everyone's going to always bring up the whole thing, like, oh, he doesn't have enough throws in college and wasn't asked to do a lot of throwing. No, he wasn't. But if you look inside the stats and you look inside the quarterback stats part of it, he's gotten better all 3 years of him playing. He's gotten better and better and better. And what's really surprising is completion percentage and QBR has skyrocketed in those 3 years. So he's had way less in terms of passing attempts and been asked to like carry the team sort of thing. Way less, but he is a really good quarterback. And people say in the around, scouts have said it, executives have said it, GMs, that this kid, do not be surprised if he's picked in the top 5 of this draft. Do not be surprised, because he's got something that none of the other quarterbacks have, and that is high-end football IQ. He can read defenses like no other.
Yeah.
There was a team, unnamed, of course, but there was a team that interviewed him, right, at the Combine, and they showed him 8 defensive formations. They're all disguised, but they showed him 8 defensive formations. And he was picking out such minor details in every formation that he was like, oh, this is cover 2. And they're like, what makes you say that? Oh, the safety, you see his heel? It's lifted up. That means he's going to bail out. He's not coming down. He's coming up close, but now he's going to bail out and get back to that position. And they're like, okay, he got 8 out of 8 formations right. Like super high IQ. So like that does go a long way. Along with, you got to, and that's the other most difficult thing with these rookie quarterbacks in any given year, is now you're also trying to take whatever they were able to accomplish in college and you're trying to project to the NFL, like, could they do it as good or better at the next level? So I understand the whole thing with JJ. I get it, but I would not be shocked if he does end up getting picked earlier than people anticipate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty interesting there, but yeah. All right, let's talk about, I guess even the, I don't know, what team you want to bring up now, Joe? I mean, let's go back to just, the
Eagles did a
maybe
lot.
The Eagles.
They
Let's go back
stay-
to
and
the
they keep
Eagles
doing
quick,
it.
because again, while I'm looking at some stuff, the Eagles,
Keep doing
again,
it.
not only get, Saquon Barkley from me and things like
Yeah.
that, but yeah, it seems like they're just picking up little tidbits of things that everybody left, and you're like, wow, that's a good pickup. Wow, that's a good pickup. Here they come. And I thought the interesting thing about that trade and bringing Kenny Pickett there was like, oh, that kind of sucks for Kenny Pickett. Unless Jalen Hurts might get hurt again, because Jalen Hurts
It's
is young.
insurance.
He's still their guy. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
what does that do for his chance? Because he complained about Russell Wilson coming there and having a chance to start, and now he goes and sits behind Jalen Hurts, who's
Yeah.
guaranteed the starter here
Right.
for Philadelphia.
Yep.
So
We got to know it all in there
all right,
in the
we
house.
got Mike Tackett's in the house.
Yeah, Mike Tass said, good evening, fellow know-it-alls.
Hello, Mikey.
Glad to see you guys back Herbert is coming back from injury and lost the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 and his running back this offseason. Meaning Keenan Allen got traded.
Yes.
Mike Williams went to free agent. They cut him. And then Austin Eckler also was a free agent. With a new head coach, is Justin playing for his job this year, or is a complete rebuild already in progress? That is his question. And we kind of talked a little bit about it.
A little bit about
and
it.
some
You just brought up
speculation.
that speculation.
One speculation a lot of people are throwing around. I don't think it's going to be true at all or anything, and if it was, it would be the dumbest thing ever. But a lot of people are talking about Herbert possibly getting moved, like you're kind of asking, Mike, and because Jim Harbaugh is there, former Michigan guy, they're trying to make these relationships all kind of line up in a row. But they're saying like maybe they move on from Herbert, collect some draft picks, and then go ahead and draft J.J. McCarthy, his boy, guy that he absolutely loves. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's unrealistic. But at the same time, Jim Harbaugh's not the most realistic person either. He's pretty crazy
out there. He is. Mike Tackett on that whole thing says J.J. McCarthy is Daniel Jones 2.0.
Yeah.
Hater.
Yeah. I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't see that. But and we will definitely get more into the draft as we get closer to April.
I mean, I understand with some people, because there was one time, and I remember talking about this on the show, there was one time when you're watching Justin Herbert last year, though, where the thought crossed my mind to where maybe we're wrong about Justin Herbert, because there was some plays and things that he did last season that were like uncharacteristic of a good quarterback. You're kind of like, what's he really doing here? Is he really as good as we kind of think he is? Because some of the things he's doing is not very good.
He's a good quarterback, but nobody's perfect.
No, I get it. But I mean, it was just kind of like,
let's call it
again. And people had brought it up about mediocre numbers and what he was doing.
Okay, but we could call out Patrick Mahomes for a lot of missed throws.
We understand that too, as well.
Interceptions and bogus plays and
I think there's even a stat or something like that. Like he would have had like double the amount of interceptions if they weren't called back by mystery flags, from the
and there's like over 56 of them for the year last year.
Yes, that's actually
and guess what? Guess who's second?
Yes,
it's like Josh Allen.
Josh Allen,
and he had like something like really low, like 20 something.
Yeah,
like that just shows you the gap in the favoritism towards Patrick Mahomes. So all right,
that's another story.
He's still don't get me wrong, he's still a really good quarterback, but let's put everything into perspective is what we're saying.
Yes. I get it. I get you there.
So, I mean, there's some speculation like maybe they might move on from Herbert because it's not Jim Harbaugh and this regime's guy. But he's already he's an established starting quarterback in the league. Like it would be the dumbest decision to come in there and kind of rip it all apart and do a rebuild. Mm-hmm. Like it's already heading that way. I see where Mike's going with that because they got rid of their 2 starting high caliber weapons. They got rid of their running back out of the backfield. So now what? Well, it's just simple. Is Jim Harbaugh going all Michigan in the draft? Like, is he going to draft Blake Coburn in the in the second to third round?
So.
Like,
I think he would.
Is he going to also draft like one of the Michigan tight ends in the 4th or 5th round, and then you know what I mean? Like, try to make this whole thing work somehow.
Not sure, but it did seem like he got a little inside information on some of the guys he picked up with getting Gus Edwards and Hayden Hurst too. Former Baltimore Ravens and things like that. So it's kind of funny. But it's interesting for that team because, again, losing his wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, what do? You can easily get a wide receiver in this draft. They're nonstop.
They can get a lot.
But then people are also thinking, what do we do? There's still some free agents out there maybe we should get or something. A lot of speculation is Odell Beckham Jr. possibly, again, go back to L.A. And how about that with Justin Herbert and stuff? Would that be able to help?
I don't see him
he
going
might want
there.
to chase there to try and maybe capture something with
I honestly don't see Odell going there. Odell wants to go to a already established team that's going to chase like Eagles or something like that. My thing with Odell too is like he's so old now. For NFL age, like he's mid-30s now, everybody. It's not like he's still in his 20s.
Yes.
This guy is mid-30s now. He's got 1 foot outside the door. You know what I mean? Like
he's had 1 foot outside the door for 3 years.
Could retire at any moment. Also, like how much can his body take? Because it seems like he gets injured every year now. So because of his age, because of everything that he's gone through, physically. So that being said, though, too, is Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator of the Chargers. So that's the former offensive coordinator of the Ravens, which makes sense for a lot of those ties, for those free agents to go there. So it'll be interesting to see what the Chargers do. The smartest thing for them to do is stay at 5. If they can trade down to get an extra pick or something, but not trade down too far, try to stay in the top 10. Maybe even like if the Giants for some reason wanted to move up one spot because there was a player there that they don't want anyone else to get out of them. Maybe they move down and get one extra pick, and still they'll be able to take the best tackle in the draft, Joe Alt. I mean, that guy is amazing. Like if they were able to take him, now their offense is every position except for maybe center. Yeah. Every position has been a first-round pick on that offensive line. So now it's like you've really built something, and now let's see what we can do going forward. Yes. So that would be the smartest thing. But again, we're talking about Jim Harbaugh. So it'll be interesting to say the least during draft night what direction the Chargers take.
Yeah. All right. Bouncing back into the NFC East, let's cover that a little bit because, again, my Giants, we lose Saquon Barkley, in free agency to the Eagles. Too
much money.
And, for me, I think Xavier McKinney was a big loss, too, I would have liked to keep him around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he was like
Packers.
Our whole defense.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a big factor, the thing that we lost. But I did like some of the stuff we did here in the off, season and free agency. But then also enough that is sketchy enough to where you see with, I've already seen it with Gettleman. I've seen it with a bunch of people to where, former players of your last, system or team are getting signed. Like the Devin Singletary move. I'm like, yeah, I could have just did without. I would have said, hey, maybe you try and draft a running back. Why go get Devin Singletary? He's not doing anything now anyways, and he's a former Buffalo Bills and knows
Can we be honest about Devin Singletary?
Yeah.
Can we be honest about him?
Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right?
When he was with the Bills as their starter, which kind of shocked me because I thought James Cook was better than him already.
Yeah.
And he played for 1 year, was the starter and whatnot, but the guy is a average running back. Like he's not a starting caliber running back. He's an average guy that you rotate in and, give a breather to the starting running back and that type of thing. That's how I view him. But it seems like every time he signs, he's going to end up the starter. And he doesn't impress you at all.
No.
Like he just does average things.
Yes.
Like he doesn't like break a tackle, make somebody miss, and now he's gone for 30-yard gain. Like it's always short yardage. Like once in a while, if the blocking has to be spectacular. We saw with Houston the 1 year when he played there. He played with the Buffalo Bills. We saw where the blocking was so good that either one of us could have ran the ball through the gap.
Yes.
But he explodes through the gap, and then he's off to the races because he never was touched. But every time he goes down way too easily. So I think for the Giants, for Devin Singletary, I'm a little disappointed with that signing because I think you could have found something better in the draft if you just wait till the draft, because running back is very deep. Like and you can pick. There's a lot of different types of running backs that fit your personality or attitude or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, Isaiah McKenzie again, he was doing his best, I think, with Buffalo, and then he moved on and again, didn't really do a whole lot, not a big splash. And I still, though, when you look at this wide receiving core that we have now, though, too, it's kind of like, I don't know. He might even be better than what we have now, even for some of these guys. I mean, again, when you look at the room that we have here in Darius Slayton and Hyatt and things like that, I'm looking for Hyatt to have a bounce back year. I want him to really do something with him in the offense. It seemed
he's going to get better.
He kind of disappeared.
He's going to get better because he was a rookie. So, it takes a while. Usually it takes a while for wide receivers to get to that, to understand the NFL at the next level, to pick up the speed of the game and get used to it. So, I see potential in Jalen Hyatt, and I saw it coming out of the draft. I didn't think he was going to be a plug and play type of guy, but I thought he could flash at times, which he did. But watch for him to take a bigger step this year. Now with the understanding of 1 year of experience, understanding how to be a pro. and how to take that day by day in his workouts and whatnot.
And then as far as letting Bill Bredesen walk, I love that. That is, I could cheer from the rooftop on that one. And the fact that he went to Tampa Bay, I'm like, I feel bad for Baker Mayfield now. You know,
so bad.
But getting John Runyon though, which I like, so that's good, I guess, for a guard. I think it's better than Bredesen at least. Again, it's a filler.
It's better than Bredesen, but he's not a starter.
Oh yeah, I get you there. But I think the biggest thing for them, Brian Burns again, pass rusher here for them. That helps.
That was a
I think
huge
that
trade.
only helps Kayvon Thibodeau too, because again,
of course it does.
It doesn't put all the workload, which I think it was on him last year, to kind of do something. But for him, I think he needs to grow and trying to figure out some different moves. So it seemed like he was throwing the same thing at people.
Right.
He's getting stuffed easy. He needs to definitely try to evolve in what he's doing.
I'm curious to see what the defense is going to look like for the Giants. Wink Martindale is no longer there, so it's not going to be the same aggressive style. I assume it's not going to be the same aggressive style. Yes. And what kind of defensive base formation are they going to be in? So what makes it interesting to me is they pull off the trade to get Brian Burns, and in Wink Martindale's system, he would have been retardedly good. Like, he would have had 15 sacks next year, like, easily. You know what I mean? Coming off the edge. But now he's a very unique type of player. He's a lighter and he's like a tweener. Like, he's borderline, like you almost need to rush him as like a 3-4 linebacker off the edge or something of that nature. So he still can play D-end, but it's just like, it's a little different, especially when teams want to run at him. Like in Carolina, when teams ran at him, they were able to run off that edge. Like, he's not the best run stopper. So great pass rusher, hands down. So I'm interested to see what direction the Giants go with Brian Burns.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for me, I think picking up Drew Lock was, I think, a great signing for the Giants here, just because
still young.
Still young, and he actually kind of showed he's got for some of these guys too, especially when it starts off a little rocky for them.
He's going to be
a change
Daniel
of
Jones.
scenery here. When he was with Seattle, again, had a different look on life. Really good spot in his life.
Had a really
right
good
now,
game
and really started to play well. Yes, absolutely, and kind of rejuvenate his career now. And this is what they're doing. They're putting the pressure on Daniel Jones, like saying, "Dude, this is it. We got this guy who actually can probably put in here and play and start for you. And now it's time for you to do something." And they move on from Tyrod Taylor, which some even people have come up to me and like, "Oh, can you believe they moved on from him?" But
yes.
I think he played for better than Daniel Jones. I'm like, dude, who cares? I mean, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't
he's
even
older, and injury prone. I'm like, dude, he's not the guy.
It doesn't matter because you got to look at age too.
Yes,
guy's over 30 years old. Like, he's not going to be
for you.
He's not going to be the long-term answer, and they know that. So instead of paying him more money to keep him, they're like, we'll just let him walk.
Right. So I think Drew Lock on there puts pressure on Daniel Jones too, and plus, I think he could play really well. You know what I mean?
We'll see. I would like to see, because it's going to be a different scheme, different offensive scheme that he has to learn again. He has to create chemistry with whoever the receivers are going to be, because one thing that I hope for the Giants is that, and I know they're going to attack this in the draft. Everybody kind of, it's like one of those like things, it's not a secret. Like, everybody in the league knows that Giants need wide receiver help, and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's, where are the Giants going to attack that need? A lot of people are pointing to in the first round at 6. They could take one of these like blue chip studs at the top of the draft with that 6th pick. But they also could go a different route because it's so deep at that position and get somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, or both 2nd and 3rd rounds, and maybe attack another need with that 1st round pick. You know what I mean? So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what they focus on, like what the pick is going to actually be. Like, is it going to be wide receiver like everyone is anticipating, or is it going to be something where they're like, this guy's a really good player, I don't think we can pass him up, and he fills a need at the same time. You know what I mean? Where like it could be O-line. Like, don't put that out of realm of possibility, because they've been struggling to find that niche, that franchise tackle. You know what I mean? A guy that's going to be like a Pro Bowler all the time, you know what I mean? Or for most of his career. So And there are guys like that in this draft. So it'll be interesting, to say the least, to see how the Giants attack the draft for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in staying in the NFC East, Washington no longer Sam Howell. They've got Marcus Mariota there now.
He gets traded.
And then and they've got they get Austin Eckler there too, which is kind of funny too for running backs, because it seems like they get decent running backs, but they don't do a whole lot in the running back room like there. Like running backs don't really do well there.
It's weird. Well, Brian Robinson Jr. has been doing really well
he
in
actually
Washington.
Kind of has, but
but my thing is like, it's do you have the right guy? Washington's been searching for that guy. Brian Robinson looks like the dude, but at the same time, they're like, hey, we can bring in a veteran, Austin Eckler, which I kind of thought was a weird spot for Austin Eckler. I didn't pick Washington as being that landing that team that he chose, but nonetheless, he's there, and he's going to rotate. And he knew going into his signing that they were honest with him. They're like, hey, we're not signing you to be the starter. We're going to work you and Brian Robinson Jr. together and rotate backs. So with that understanding comes in, and I think he's a good piece. He's definitely a guy who can do a lot of things extremely well, catch the ball in the backfield and run between the tackles and outside of it. So I think it's good for him. It's one of those fits where I didn't anticipate it, because I'm thinking, well, maybe they're going to re-sign Antonio Gibson. You know what I mean? Maybe that's who they're going to rock with again and all that, but they didn't. So they went a different direction with the new regime with Dan Quinn. So you look at that. Look at that team. I mean, they signed an awful lot of free agents. There's a huge turnover in roster there.
Yeah.
Big
change. A lot of veterans too.
Big change. And then Sam Howell, he's going to compete with Geno. He's going to push Geno. Yes. I think he's going to push him. So, I mean, we'll see. Stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll definitely stay tuned with that. I think Seattle's an interesting look, because I'm looking to see what they do and what some of the changes and things that they've done. How much of that is still influence of Pete Carroll in his new position, or is it the new, other regime that's there? I mean, I'm just interested to see the dynamic of how
he's just an advisor.
I know
he's not going to have any say of coaching or anything like that.
Yeah. So in the offseason, a lot of talk that was going on too is the lack of effort or moves by the Cowboys. And they're like, oh, they're not doing anything. They're not blah, blah, blah. It's funny. It was nauseating, and how much there was nothing else that they could talk about attention. To where we're just like, wow, they're not doing anything. What's wrong with this? Is the Cowboy way.
Right.
Blah, blah. And I'm not really worried about it. Even Leighton, Van Der Esch, yes, he's injury prone, boom, and now he's retired. That's fine. He's done. Michael Gallup, okay, he's injury prone too.
He moved on.
Yeah, and he's
a free agent.
Yes,
they cut him.
Absolutely. Yes, that's what I'm saying. He's gone. And they let Tony Pollard go, and then they're fine with Dowdle, I guess. And they
didn't have a choice.
Right.
There's no money.
People are wondering, like, oh, how come? Because everybody's banking on that. Derrick Henry was locked in to go to the Cowboys.
None of those big free agents were going to go there.
I don't see it being a big factor for them, because I think they even still have a good wide receiver room. Even so, you're like Michael Gallup leaves. Yes. They're fine.
They got Cooks. They got CeeDee Lamb. When you have two good receivers like that, you're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. No one hit the panic button. You don't need to have four studs on your out there all the time in four wide and say, oh, who are you going to defend?
Right.
You can make it work with two.
Right. And I think in Mike McCarthy's offense, it's shown that he doesn't value the quarterback or the running back that much and things like that too. He does a little bit, but it's not a big thing. I think they can find a guy again in the draft, put him in there, and then be kind of fine. So
well, that's the other thing too, is Cowboy fans and other people that were making it a big deal. Look at the details. There's a reason why teams weren't spending crazy. They didn't have money. You need to have cap space to go buy free agents. If you don't have it, or you're limited on a low number, you have to save. You have to allocate $9 million or more to the draft.
Yep.
To get all 7 draft picks. Now, if you have more draft picks, say you have 10 or something like that, then obviously maybe that number inflates a little bit. Or if you have less, it deflates. So it's about the cap space. It's about how much money you have. You can't just and this is the kind of issue that everybody goes with, like, oh, I hope my team signs a bunch of I hope my team signs some big time guys, studs, and every year in free agency. But listen, you got to have the money to do it. You have to. If you don't have the money, then don't expect your team to be that active. Cowboys are going to probably come in later on when there's like the scraps of free agency where some maybe older free agents that they could bring in on a 1-year deal and kind of just plug and play in a hole for one season, like a stopgap type of position for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they might be doing because that's what they have to do. So, we'll wait and see how it all shakes out, but that's what we expect. We expect the Cowboys now they've just been focusing on the draft now. They're going to go and try to find some big players for them in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mike Tackett said, did Washington win the Chase Young trade? Also, getting Marcus Mariota is an interesting pickup too. Did Washington win the Chase Young trade?
What did they get for that again? I'm trying to remember.
I'll say I don't even have to know. I think they won the trade. Listen, when you make a trade for a player, and don't get me wrong, still very young, only 25 years old, but when they trade him and he goes to the Niners, right? Regardless what the compensation is, I think it wasn't even a lot.
Yeah,
it was like a third rounder and something else or something like that. Third round. Mike Tackett just said. That's a that's a high profile pick for the draft because draft picks are like gold, and you got rid of Chase Young's contract. Chase Young himself, who was injury prone. This guy hasn't shown anything in the NFL as of late. Like you could say, okay, well, when he went to the Niners, he had 5 sacks. Okay, cool. But did he play all year? No. So it's like now let's see now the Saints sign him, right? The Saints just recently signed Chase Young to a 1-year, $13 million contract. The Saints, let's see what he can do in 1 year. Because that's why the Saints gave him a 1-year deal. $13 million is too much, but it is what I'm trying to think of what term.
It's like a parallel move, or what do you
no,
think?
No. Like contract wise, it's not an investment. It's the type of contract that it is. It's by game. It's
like incentive laden.
Incentives laden.
Yep.
Took me a while to get there, but I got
get
there.
it there. I was
but
trying to get there. I wasn't much of a help.
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
sorry.
I was struggling.
It's tough trying
I
to
needed
figure
you
out
to
what's in
pick
your
me up,
brain.
bro.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of ideas that go through here.
But anyway, incentive laden contract.
Yes.
So that's a good thing for the Saints because there's no guarantee this guy's going to stay healthy all year long. So I mean, I would say Washington won the trade hands down because. Yeah, he was on the Niners for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then now he's a free agent and he went elsewhere. So good on Washington for recognizing the fact that he does have issues staying healthy to move on from, even though he's really young. It's like, listen, they can't wait forever for this guy to pan out.
Yeah.
So it's like Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Chargers, right? Joey Bosa is good of a high impact type of player that he is, a pass rusher. He gets injured every year.
Yeah.
And I'm actually kind of surprised that the Chargers decided to retain his services. They restructured his contract to make more cap space, but still, this guy has a very hard time staying on the field.
Yep. He also says incentive-based contract, like Ricky Williams type of contract.
Right.
And as far as Marcus Mariota, I don't know. I don't know if they just think because Cliff Kingsbury's running the offense, maybe a mobile quarterback. I don't know. I mean,
no, that's exactly what they're thinking. That's exactly what they're thinking.
He hasn't really shown enough to be. He's given opportunities to be the starter in a few different places here, and hasn't really done anything. You know what I mean?
I mean, here's the thing.
And behind that, you got Jake Fromm. So I mean, do you think like Washington is going to go for a quarterback this year? Or
yes.
What? Yeah, obviously, because right now they don't have anything. So. I don't know. I don't know what they're expecting out of Marcus Mariota.
I like Marcus Mariota, and I think that you got to remember too. This poor guy, he's been on so many offenses.
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know how this guy learns all these offenses because every year it seems like he's going to somewhere else because the team knows that they're going to have to give him a raise, and they don't want to give him a raise. So they're like trying to keep him in that backup role, but also like teams do want him.
Yeah.
Because he has that mobility. He can throw the football, but yeah, there's mistakes that he makes from time to time for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's an excellent move to have. You got to have a good backup. So to have Marcus Mariota there, like, that's pretty good. The Eagles had him last year, didn't really need him, but the Eagles don't need a lot. But the thing is, like, I feel like this is the type of thing where you see a lot of teams go after, more than ever, you're seeing a lot of teams go after backup quarterbacks in free agency to kind of shore up that position in case something is to happen to their starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but it's just for me again. I'm like, I don't know, but I don't expect a whole lot of Washington this year, anyways. But they could surprise me again. And I think they always do somehow. Kansas City Chiefs again. They didn't do a whole lot of crazy stuff. Moving to the AFC West. Marquise Brown, I thought was a nice pickup for them. No, that's a nice little thing. It just seems like for Kansas City, for a team that always has to pick like last in the first round, they just make their move in the free agency because that's all they really have to do. You know what I mean? If they happen to hit somebody like they did with the Rashee Rice or then Isaiah Pacheco, just hit one guy and then free agency fix the rest and fuck it. The rest is okay. It seems like they still do okay because they do have Andy Reid. They do have, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes. That nucleus kind of still helps push the train because they've shown that people saw like what's the impact of not having Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. And there was a little bit of an impact here, but still they were able to make it work though
because they had to change. They were forced to change. Mm-hmm. They couldn't play the same way without Tyreek Hill. Mm-hmm. They don't have anybody like that. Mm-hmm. So as much as they tried to make MVS that role, guy drops the football.
Yeah, he does.
And he's not that dynamic. Like he was with the Packers and never really did much of anything. So, for the Chiefs, they just have to stay disciplined and be smart in the draft. There's no they're going to get a good player regardless of picking last in the first round. They're going to get another good player in the bottom of the second round and another good player in the bottom of the third. It's just making sure you're not overextending. Don't make any silly picks. Like, oh well, we really like the potential of this player, so we're just gonna take him a round ahead. Don't do anything like that. Just stay modest, stay poised, and just make the right selection at the right time. So the Chiefs have done that up to this point, and they've gotten lucky a couple times. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just like any team does. But like, I feel like with free agency, it's harder this year on them because they've lost players and because they don't have a lot of money. So they're trying to find it in other places. Travis Kelce decided to return. So now they got to still pay that guy. Patrick Mahomes is still making a big coin there, rightfully so, but still, you know what I mean? It does hurt the cap. So Chiefs have been diligent and they've just kind of made some additions here and there. And listen, they still have the base of what they need to win. Mm-hmm. They have Andy Reid, they have Patrick Mahomes, and they have a solid offensive line, and their defense is good. Mm-hmm. So until they lose a big asset, like Chris Jones, that everything was hyped around Chris Jones. Like, oh my God, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? And he ended up signing a gigantic deal. Yeah. And honestly, I don't want Chris Jones.
Right.
I wouldn't want him. And everyone's going to go, what? You're crazy. You're absolutely out of your mind. No, I'll tell you why. He is by far, now that Donald is out of the picture, he's seen as the best D tackle in football, right? Mm-hmm. However, this so-called best D tackle in football can't stop the run to save his life. Mm-hmm. On PFF, he has an extremely high grade for pass rush. It's like a 90-something, something crazy. Run defense, it's like a 50-something. Mm-hmm. It's horrendous. Mm-hmm. So that shows me that he's only thinking about making the splash play. And then there are times when he disappears where he takes a few snaps off. And he's like, I'm like, where's Chris Jones? Like, he's supposed to be dominant. Where the hell is he?
Yeah.
We saw that in the playoffs where the game was going along. The other team was winning, like in the 49er game.
Yeah, 49ers, yep.
Like, where was Chris Jones at that most of that game? And then all of a sudden, when it mattered the most, he's like, I'm really going to play now and make a big impact play. So for me, like, I want a guy that's just going to be balls to the wall every single snap. You know what I mean? And just make it happen. So.
Yeah, I get you there because, again, I think the same way with him. Staying with the AFC West, and we already touched on the Chargers, and I don't think we need to talk about the Broncos because they obviously, again, going for quarterback because they have, like, Jared Stidham.
What's interesting about the Broncos, though, is they don't have a lot of picks again this year.
Yeah.
So they don't have a second rounder. So in the first round, they're picking 12th. They have to go quarterback.
They have to go quarterback, but yeah, I mean, if some of them go early, then they're kind of screwed again.
No,
they don't
there's
have
still
the stuff to
there's still quarterbacks that are going to get taken there. Like I'm telling you right now, like it could very well happen that there's going to be 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken in the early part of the draft.
Yeah, wow.
And a lot of it, some of it is because teams view them that way. Not everybody views them that way, but some teams view them that way. Like. Right. We have to take this guy.
Yeah, and it's worth a shot.
But then on the other side of it, it's that position is so important that it pushes them up in value. So I think this is going to be there has been 1 year. There's been 1 year in the draft that I know of back in the 80s that 6 quarterbacks were taken in the first round. It was insane. Like it doesn't happen. It doesn't. But if it's going to happen, this is the year because there's that much talented quarterbacks coming into this draft class right now. Some guys are underrated, some guys are overrated, some guys are right where they need to be, but we're going to see some surprises on draft day, I feel like.
And as far as the Raiders, I think for you and your team, I think Gardner Minshew signing with them is pretty big too. Again, just as I think again, a little pressure on O'Connell just to see if he can perform a little better. And then, it's a good, I think, spot where he ends up being the start or whatever. I mean, he's shown that starting with the Colts last year.
Got him to the playoffs.
Yeah. Made some moves and performed fairly well. We got Mike Tackett in the house. What does he got? He goes, I want to like the Trent Brown signing for Cincy, but he has part-time availability at best. The window for Cincy to get back to the Super Bowl is closing more every year. Should T. Higgins get traded to Houston or New England, Cincy should go get fair compensation in return.
Yeah, that's an interesting debate, too, is what do you give up for T. Higgins? Because me personally, I don't view him as a top-end wide receiver. Like, he's really good. Don't get me wrong. He's a really good receiver. Yeah. But I don't see him as, like, your typical number one. Like, I don't see him better than Jamar Chase or as good as Jamar Chase. I don't see him as good as Justin Jefferson at all.
Yeah.
So, T. Higgins, for me, is a little bit lower. I have him a little bit valued lower than probably most people. Most people probably say, oh, you got to give up a first-rounder for him. I'm like, I don't think so. I think you can make it work with because obviously Cincinnati's going to want a second-round pick. I think that's where their target is. They want a second-rounder at least. First round will be great. So, like, if the Chiefs come calling and like, hey, we'll give you our 32nd pick for T. Higgins, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, of course you would take that. But I think they're going to hold out to try to get a second-rounder. I think the most realistic thing is a third-rounder and maybe a late pick to go with it. To make it happen. So that's where I kind of view T. Higgins. I think he's still a really good wide receiver. He's going to make a difference for another team. But here's the interesting thing is Cincinnati can't hold on to him. They can't. They tagged him with the intention of trying to get a deal done, but it doesn't sound like T. Higgins is crazy about that and doesn't want to work with them. So they are looking to trade him because that as of there's the tag deadline to where everything locks in place. They will be on the hook for $21 million this year to pay T. Higgins, and I know they don't want to do that. So I fully expect them to either move on from him during the draft or at least right after. And there are teams that have already called on him, trying to get a feelers out there to see what they're thinking, how they could pull this off. So whoever does, in fact, get T. Higgins is getting a really good player, like hands down. Like he's definitely seen as a upper end a weapon for sure.
Yeah, and I think, like what Mike Tackett says here, too, about their window closing, I think that's happening for a few different teams. I know there was even a dispute, I think, on television today with some team talking about the Bills and how their window is not closing, how it's actually still fairly wide open. But I'm on the kind of other side and saying, well, for this nucleus of guys that they have together, I think the window is starting to close. I just think the steps that they take moving forward to the next season or so will decide if they could still compete or keep up at a level that they are right now.
I think they will. I don't see them as the window's closing on them, just like Cincinnati. I don't see the window closing on them either. They still have premier talent in certain positions that count more than the rest. Like Cincinnati, they have Joe Burrow, quarterback. Quarterback is huge. Like, if you have a really good quarterback, you can beat a lot of teams. Look at Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
Like Tom Brady, like I understand, like Tom Brady was amazing, right, for what he was able to do, but he did it with subpar wide receivers, like average wide receivers that really weren't seen as top end talent.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He helped them get there.
Deion Branch.
But like Deion Branch, I mean, honestly,
come on.
Matthew Slater, even when he was playing, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Julian Edelman came in. He was a former quarterback for God's sakes.
Yep.
He converted to wide receiver, and his career was amazing.
Yes.
So
made a big career out of it.
It's like that to me is like a big deal. So, and both those teams have that. They have that franchise starting caliber quarterback to kind of keep them in the realm. Now it's like what you just said. It's more about older guys moving on. Jordan Poyer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Matt Milano coming back from injury.
Micah Hyde's like 31, I think, or something like that, too. So even that safety position is getting older.
And they're going to turn that over. Yeah. It's going to change. And Matt Milano coming off an injury, is he 100% healthy for next year? Can he still play the same way? So there's question marks for sure. But at the same time, they can still continue to build around them at the weaker positions or guys that are moving on from the team, where I feel like their window is still open, no problem. Like, they're still going to be a really good team. They're still going to be in the hunt, still competitive. I'm not worried about it at all. I want to touch on, he said Trent Brown signing. I wanted to touch on that real quick because I think this is one of the players in this league that just collect paychecks.
Yeah.
Has the ability to be a Pro Bowl tackle and possibly Hall of Famer if he put in the work.
Yeah.
But he's been on a few different teams now, and it seems like, oh, I can't play, I'm hurt. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's to me, it seems like he's faking. Maybe he's not faking the injuries, but it's like almost like those type of things where like you have some real ballers that are like, I got a pulled hamstring, but I'm still playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy's not like that. He's like, I got a pulled hamstring, I got to sit out 2 weeks.
Right.
So I don't like it because of that. Because his attitude, I feel like, is poor. Because he has the potential to be a stud, but he chooses he's like, oh, I can just collect money, and you know what I mean?
Right. Because again, you see the talent there, you see what he can do, and if it's there, but it's like, where's his heart? Half the time. I mean, I've noticed that in the workforce.
And that's a
there's
crazy
tons
thing.
of people that have tons of talent that are there. That you're like, oh, I'm great that he's aboard, but if he's here half the time, like, how much is it really worth to me?
He is a former Pro Bowler. Originally on the Patriots, he was a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
And then took a trip to the Raiders, played great one season. The next season, I'm hurt, man. I can't play. I'm hurt, man. I can't play. Then the Raiders screw it. We're not going to keep this guy. Goes back to New England. He's hurt again, and now he's on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So it's like
on to Cincinnati.
It's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid move. But hopefully Cincinnati can get something a little bit more out of him. You know what's a funny comment that Trent Brown made after he signed the deal? He's like, I feel like I can finally breathe and be happy to go to work. Are you kidding me? Like, your whole career.
Oh.
Like,
yeah.
Now that you signed with Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Now you're like,
I feel
finally.
And that's what it is.
I can enjoy
he's just
it.
like, now it's like, oh, this is a contender. They're a good team. Like, I can just really breathe now. I'm like, this is nice.
Yeah.
I'm on my road to the playoffs.
So Mike Tackett, he goes, what teams do you see over trading in the first round for their chance to get a quarterback? That's the part. We'll just take that one
Yes.
for right now. What teams do I see trading up? It's hard because and me and Jim have since we've done our own mock draft stuff, we do not do trades because it's almost impossible to figure that out. Like, we can speculate for sure. Like, I think the Vikings are one of those teams that want to trade up
I
because
was going to say
they made
Vikings,
that
yes.
they made that move to get the 23rd overall pick and they hold the 11th. They're going to package those together and maybe something else to move up a few spots or whatever, like maybe the 4th spot with Arizona. You know, maybe that would be the trade that they're looking at to be able to lock in their quarterback if he's there. Because that's the thing is, we can say Caleb Williams is going 1 all we want, and then it's going to be Jaden Daniels, and then it's going to be Drake May, and then whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there might be some surprises, like there always is, in terms of maybe a team drafting a certain player or trades. So Vikings to me seems primed to make a move up for a quarterback. Other than that, like, there was a lot of speculation with the Raiders, but I just don't see it. It costs too much. And Raiders aren't a quarterback away from being a playoff caliber team right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they have other needs. So I don't see them doing it. Denver desperately would love to trade up, but they just don't have the capital. Now, they could, if they wanted to trade more picks away like they always do, they could move up a couple spots, I feel like, if they trade next year's first coupled with this first round and maybe a second rounder next year, if they have a second rounder next year, to move up like maybe 3 spots or something like that, or 4 spots. But then again, you got to have a trade partner. And that's the hardest thing to figure out, is who's willing to trade and how much are they asking? And then you as a team that's trying to move up, are you willing to pay that price?
Mm-hmm.
So Vikings for sure. Other than that, everybody wants a quarterback for sure, but like I just don't see a lot of teams willing to pay that price other than Minnesota. I think Minnesota's gearing up for a move.
Yes,
for a big
makes
move.
more sense.
But like everybody else, like you look at like the draft and how it falls. Like Arizona's at 4, where Arizona, everybody thinks that they are taking Marshawn. Everybody thinks they're taking Maserati Marv at that pick because they want a true number 1 wide receiver. But if they trade, that changes the whole philosophy. He's not going to be around. Mm-hmm. So then you have the Chargers at 5. They're not looking at quarterback. There shouldn't be anyways.
No.
6 are the Giants. We've heard rumors that the Giants could go either quarterback, they could go wide receiver, they could go offensive line. There's a lot of back and forth there, and you could debate any position at all.
Yeah, they have now 2 second-round picks now because of what with Carolina and stuff now too. So who knows what they do with that second round?
And there's a couple of speculating moves that they're going to make. Some people say they've already talked to the Patriots about moving to 3. Mm-hmm. And everyone's saying it's for a quarterback. It's for a quarterback. I'm not so sure. Mm. The Giants have done a lot of homework on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
A lot. Mm-hmm. Like almost more than Arizona. So that kind of makes me think that if they're moving to 3, they're saying, hey, we're going to steal Marvin from Arizona, and now we got a legit number 1 guy to roll with. So that's an option where the Giants could move up to 3 and take the wide receiver. They also could do it to take a quarterback, but we don't know. Like, it's very iffy, I'll say. What it seems like from the outside perspective for the Giants is that they've already made the decision Daniel Jones isn't their guy, but he's their guy for now. But if they happen to see someone that they really like, maybe at 3, where they're like, should we do it? Should we pull the trigger and go get the quarterback here? Mm-hmm. And have him compete with Daniel Jones? Like, that's always an option. It has to be, because from what we've seen, from fans have seen it, from everybody has watched Daniel Jones play, he has potential still, but he keeps making the same mistakes.
Yes.
So it's like if it's a broken record, it's time to change it. You know what I mean? So we'll see what the Giants go with there, but that's another team that I could see move up. Maybe not necessarily for a quarterback, but it's there.
Yeah, and it's really how much faith they have in him. Do they look at him as he still has the potential? He still has our backing. Now we get him Marvin Harrison, that piece, that target that he hasn't really had either. I mean, look at the wide receiver room that he's had, because they've also been riddled with injuries. So then when they're injured that badly, you're talking about he's trying to throw to fourth, fifth string wide receivers. Paris Campbell, who's, it's a one-time deal here and there. And, nobody spectacular. Hodges, who came off of, the street, to go play with him and actually performed fairly well because he was the only guy. And Darius Slayton, who's, again, has a case of the dropsy too, can make some great catches, but then all of a sudden will miss wide open ones, So I think to get him that piece, though, and a guy like that would even elevate his game, where he's like, I'm going to throw it up, get it close to him, and boom, we're going to make it happen.
The other thing,
that's all what they think of what he is.
The other thing that I'll say too is it doesn't matter if you have a number one wideout either if you can't protect your quarterback.
Right, that is true too. And that's the thing about some of the routes that always freaked me out with this offense. It seemed like they wanted to do a lot more medium to deeper routes when you didn't have the offensive line for something like that.
Yeah, it's poor coaching. It's poor coaching. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the fact that he was, everybody wanted to interview Mike Kafka, I thought was ridiculous. But I was almost like, please.
You should have liked that.
Yeah, well, I know I did. I was like,
don't take him. Listen, you have to sell it too. You can't just say, "Oh, I think it's ridiculous." Not, you know what I mean? You gotta be like, "Yeah, you guys should take him."
Yeah,
go ahead. He's great.
I was like, "Sure, I want whatever you're smoking."
You gotta upsell it. You gotta upsell him. Like he's a mastermind.
He's the whole thing behind it.
Brandon Matthew, what's up, bro? He goes, Giants drafting quarterback. He just made a statement.
We'll see.
Giants might move to 3 and take a quarterback, and it's a possibility. It really is. You got to think about it.
Then all the drama starts, in the debate. Like, here we go. Daniel Jones, he's out. Here we go.
No, I don't think it's a debate. I think it's just like, okay, competition's open now.
That's a loaded quarterback room then too. So what happens with all that? I mean, now DeVito's out completely.
Well, if the thing is if the rookie can come in and outperform the guys that are already there, he's going to start. That's the whole purpose of it. Is when you draft a guy, you're hoping he can start, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
So if he comes in and they're like, we don't think he's ready yet, he's going to sit, and Daniel Jones will probably be the starter. Because they are paying him a lot of money too.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know shouldn't be the decision maker, but he was there. He was a starter before, so we'll see. Ed Sargent tunes in, says, New York Giants better get Marvin Harrison Jr. and let Locke start. And there you go, Jim, because you were just saying how Drew Lock is real competition for Daniel Jones, and he is.
Yes.
So that's a possibility too, where the Giants might be thinking that they're like, hey, we got Daniel Jones and then we have Locke. That's going to be an open quarterback competition. We really need wide receiver, so we're going to go get the best one in the draft. We're going to trade up and we're going to get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3 with the Patriots. The Patriots, I feel like, would be more willing to do this trade than any other because they're only moving down 3 spots. And they're still going to get someone that they really like. You know what I mean? With other picks. So it's like, that would be a smart move, I feel like. Because now, you still have that quarterback competition, Locke and Jones. And now, you're like, okay, you can't use the excuse, we don't have a wide receiver to throw to. Right. Now you're going to have a legit. And it doesn't have to stop there. You can continue that trend, and maybe in the 3rd or 4th round, there's someone else that they really like. They can bring him in. And now you got another up-and-coming receiver with Jalen Hyatt. And now the wide receiver room is starting to fill in. It's like, we got talent now.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to see what these guys can do this year with the quarterbacks battling it out. So hopefully the offensive line is going to be upgraded, though.
Yeah, like I said, because then you got 2 picks in the 2nd round. They're both in the top 15, I think. That's big.
And that's the thing, too, is like in this draft, because it's so deep, you could go into the 2nd round and say, okay, we're going to draft the best guard. Boom. Now you have a starter there. We're gonna look at, oh crap, this guy fell. This tackle fell to us. We're gonna take this tackle now. Like, it opens up the rest of the draft for you, and that's what I hope for the Giants. I hope the Giants kind of like they get the guys that they want, but at the same time, you have to like fill in those needs too. So it can't always be best player available.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works out that way, right?
does. Yeah,
Sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes it's like, oh, we have a needed tackle. Guess what? This guy's the best guy in the freaking draft. We got to take him. So
Yeah.
sometimes it works out, but just don't like over pursue
And
certain
don't stretch
prospects
for your needs. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't reach for your needs.
Ed also says, he goes, Bears will hate Williams for years. Fields has never had coaches or a real team. Wish New York Giants made a move for him. For Fields? Really? I think, okay.
Some people had seen.
Here's what
something like that.
here's what I'll say. So like Justin Fields being in the league, he still has talent. He still has potential to be a starter. Not anymore in Pittsburgh, but he's gonna be sitting behind Russell Wilson. So I would say if he went to the Giants, let's just say that, because a 6th-round pick, any team would give him up if they value that type of quarterback, though. So it seems like there definitely wasn't a lot of love for Fields, and because of that, the quarterback market dried up for him, and I feel like the Bears mishandled it big time. I think the GMs really screwed it up. Like they could have had a higher value in terms of picks, maybe a 3rd rounder, maybe a 4th rounder, maybe 4th and a 6th or something like that. They could have got a little bit more in value if he traded him earlier. But Ed has let his feelings known. He goes, I love Fields, so maybe I'm biased, but he goes, I hate Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He
hates Daniel Jones.
So there you go. If you feel that way, then yes.
Yeah.
And now you saw what Fields kind of went for. You say, okay, whatever, 6th rounder, who gives a shit? You
Yeah.
burn that up. And
Right.
if he ends up starting, though, that it turns into a 4th. Then
He's
what's
not
your
gonna
value
start.
of it, though? But the Giants being again in what position where they are right now, this high up in the 1st round again, with the depth of quarterbacks in this, and able to just sign, a veteran, and at this point, a quarterback in Drew Lock, who looks decent even right now for you to
And
be
he's
a
young,
starter.
too. He's still young.
He's still fairly young, yes. I think you're in a good position now as it is, too.
It opens everything up for conversation for sure in the war room for the Giants.
Absolutely.
And I would always love to be in every war room to like listen to the conversations, because
Okay.
it would be, because that's one thing that as a fan you're not allowed that kind of access.
Right.
And it would just be interesting to hear from teams' perspectives of certain prospects, because not everybody agrees with all of them, how people rank them and whatnot. But it would be interesting to see what their perspective is on that said player. You know what I mean? How many people are in on Terrion Arnold, the corner from Alabama? How many people are on Quinion Mitchell, the smaller school from Toledo, that corner? Like, there's all kinds of opinions and everything. But from when you're at that level, you have so much information available to you that to make that decision, where it would be an interesting, kind of like a teaching moment to see like how they go about it, what the process is. It would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So with the Giants, they got all the options on the table for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, we went into a lot of Giants talk there. We definitely appreciate it, you guys out there. If you're Giants fans too, tell me some more about it. Like, what do you guys think about the Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles? Let me know too about that. What's your guys' take on it? If you are a Daniel Jones hater, are you hating on Saquon right now, or do you like the fact that he's gone? Because again, he had some injuries and stuff, so he wasn't playing.
He was banged up, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But then at times, especially even last year, it looked like he had some, some good runs and stuff. But are you really crushed? Because for me, I think him going to Philly, I think that's where his career is going to end up coming to an end, though, again. I don't think the Philly doesn't concentrate on the run as much. Sometimes they do. They end up being a close up there in the top rankings and rushing, but it's not. It's built around the quarterback. Yeah. It's not really the running. And the fact that they had DeAndre Swift, I think they didn't use him enough at certain times when I think they should have. And I think they could have just re-signed him for a different deal and been fine.
Yeah,
you didn't have to go and give the big money to Saquon.
So Ed says, who would you guys take if you're the Giants? Jaden Daniels or Marvin Harrison Jr.? I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be available. I think he's the second pick. with Washington because of the fit with the offense, with Cliff Kingsbury, loves his mobile quarterbacks, and that's what Jaden Daniels is. He's still not a finished product, obviously, but the potential is tremendous there. So I don't think the Giants have a shot at Daniels, but Marvin Harrison, if they trade up, they do. And that's why we kind of got on this little Giants take here about the draft and everything, is because the Giants would have to trade to 3 to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Arizona most likely is taking. They are like I don't think it's a secret. Like they are definitely going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think they're gonna shake their heads away from that idea. And I see Ed, like if available, if available, Jaden Daniels or Marvin Harrison Jr. That's tough, man. But here's the thing that I would say is quarterback is your most important position. It always goes to that. So am I taking Jaden Daniels because the potential is great, or at quarterback, or do I take a pretty much like rock solid pick where he can't be a bust? Like Marvin Harrison, to me, I just don't see him being a bust at all. Like he's going to be a dominating wide receiver at the next level. So I think for me, I think I would take Jaden Daniels for a couple reasons. One, because at that quarterback position, you would never expect him to be available. And if he was to become available, you really got to think about it. Like and he fills that quarterback void where he could really come in and compete and give you something that the Giants haven't had in a long, long time. A guy with that kind of mobility to also go with his arm. It's kind of daunting to think about, where I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is that premier guy, but I would definitely go Jaden Daniels because of quarterback position and the fact that the talent is through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you can't argue with that at all. I mean, either is fine, but again,
either you can't mess that pick up.
Moves, yes.
Like you can go Jaden or Marvin. It's like no one's gonna be like, why'd you take Marvin? You should have took. No, I think.
But like Ed's talking about, which I've been there. A New York Giant fan hoping, and they're gonna fuck it up again somehow.
I hope
you're gonna be like, what?
How many times?
Why?
How many times have we watched the draft together and the Giants pick comes up and we're both thinking the same thing? We're like, dude, it's got to be Zach Martin. This is the guy.
Don't bring up that again. I have hurt feelings every time with that one.
This is the pick, but this is the thing.
Yes, it is. It is the thing.
And you would hope that with a new regime now, it's not the same regime like it has been. So hoping that with this regime, they have a more realistic view of these players and the needs that you guys have. So I think that for sure, you got to go with, like, if the Giants have an opportunity to make that trade, get that third pick, most likely 100%, I think it's got to be Marvin Harrison Jr. That's why they would trade up.
Yeah, why they trade up.
It's not necessarily for a quarterback.
All right, so then say all of a sudden there is no trade partner. Say they can't jump up. Like he's saying, Giants will draft Joe Smith,
linebacker from Vermont.
Yes. Nice. Oh my goodness. Man.
Excellent, Ed. Excellent, sir.
But then if you say they stay there, all of a sudden they don't get any of those two wide receivers, then they're there at their pick, quarterback or offensive line, or they try to trade back, or what do you think?
Well, at 6?
Yes.
At 6. If he's there, I'm taking Joe Alt.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Like, I'll take wide receiver later because the depth is so great, and there's going to be good. There's going to be other receivers that end up going exactly, Kirk. There's going to be other receivers in the second, in the third, maybe even in the fourth that could be starters. Where to me, I don't feel pressured to take that wide receiver at 6. It would be great. It would be, like kind of like a no-brainer with you, if you will. Like, if you're going to take receiver in the 6, you could take Malik Neighbors. You could take Brian Thomas Jr. You take who you like. Roma Dunze is another one that's up there. But we'll get it. I don't want to give up my rankings yet. So, but like, I'm just saying, like, there's definitely a lot of talent out there where you can go whatever direction you want and then still attack another need later. You know what I mean? So I just think he said Giants aren't that smart. I get it. You guys said that would be a great pick too. I mean, it would, because it doesn't happen that often for teams, at least a lot anyway, where you can sit at your spot and then, okay, we're going to take BPA. We're going to take best player available. And then the list gets down to you and it's like, crap. Like this guy, and this guy are really good and are deserving of this pick, but we don't really have that's not a need for us at all. We're pretty set there. So what do? Do you take one? Do you still take best player available, or do you maybe in other people's eyes you reach a little bit to take that need? You know what I mean? Like it's not a big reach, but you could have got him in the 20s. Instead, you took him in the teens. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, what are you gonna do? Mm-hmm. Ed says, you guys think Ayuk ends up in Pittsburgh? No, I don't. I think Brandon Ayuk, with all this like rumors and everything that, he's definitely wants out. He's going to get traded, this, that, and the other thing. John Lynch is not trading Brandon Ayuk, one of the best receivers he has on his roster. And a lot of it stems from, and it does stem from the playoffs when he felt unused in one of the biggest games of the year, or the biggest game of the year, where he was open multiple times and Brock Purdy just never threw it to him. And some of it is because he was being rushed out of the pocket. Some of it's because he was looking to one side and not the other. So it's kind of hard to blame Purdy, because even though Ayuk was open, it's like there's moments as a quarterback where it's like the oh shit moments. Like you're being flushed out of the pocket, and even though he might have been able, he might have seen Ayuk start to break and he knew he was going to get open, but now, oh crap, now I got to move off my spot because otherwise I'm taking a sack or fumbling it or whatever. So you have to get out of there and throw it away. So, but with the whole Ayuk news, I think it's going to die down. I really think that like they're not going to trade him to anybody. And by the time we're in the training camp, everyone's going to forget about all this. Like Ayuk himself, like I just feel like you're already on a really good team, bro. Like, why would you want to leave the Niners right now? If you're a player, why would you want to leave the Niners right now?
Right.
I don't. We're winning games and we made it to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. What the hell would I want to leave that for? To go to a rebuilding team or a team that isn't that competitive? Nah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What does he have to say?
Ed said also, he goes, what about Jefferson? Does he leave Minnesota for the Giants' sixth pick?
Oh, Jesus.
I love it. Ed's throwing all these curveballs, man. He's
dreaming right now. He's
I'll say this.
He's open.
I mean, honestly, like if the Giants were willing to give up the sixth pick, they could have Justin Jefferson. Now, the Minnesota's going to say, well, Minnesota, first of all, is not trading Justin Jefferson. But let's say if Minnesota was open to it, you're giving up 2 wins. Would you be comfortable with giving up 2 wins for Justin Jefferson? Just do it. I'm asking you.
Yeah, for me, it's I don't think so. Like,
Ed, what do you think?
He's a game changer. Yes.
Do you think? Would you give up your 6th pick this year and your first rounder next year for Justin Jefferson? Because that's the conversation that you would have with Minnesota. They don't want to give him up. Yeah, so it's like, in order to take him from us, you're going to have to pay. Like, you're going to have to give us 2 wins for a premier player in this league. Would you do
I mean, I would definitely do it because he's that kind of a player. But I think for my team, are we in the position that much to push us to get us anywhere? You know, are we getting a Super Bowl out of it? It'll help.
Yeah.
But
But then you build the rest of the roster.
Yes.
You know, I mean,
Yeah, I get
that's
you.
the thing
I get
is
what you're saying.
Is I'm saying
He's just as good as your first day. What you've got anyways, like because people swing and miss at quarterbacks all the time with that first pick.
Well, the other
you're getting
thing-
a guaranteed starter right there, and some of your other depth pieces that you get to fix your team around you, you're going to get in some of your later rounds anyways.
every pick is a 50-50 shot.
Mm-hmm. No, I
there's
hear you.
no
I
such
hear you.
thing as a guaranteed like guy that's going to come in and be the rookie of the year. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying that. Do you value Justin Jefferson for 2-1s and you're going to pull the trigger?
Yeah, I think I do. I do.
Because-
Just because you've seen even without, having,
Well, he's proven
Kirk
already.
Cousins and stuff like that, he could do anything. He could be your whole offense when he's out there. Like
Yeah.
there's nobody else there that's healthy and he was
Right.
there and he was like, bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
bang,
But-
making it happen.
How crazy would it be? You give up 2-1s, and then in the second round, because you got two seconds,
Yeah.
you could still take another really good receiver to pair him up with, and an offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me would be a pretty good draft.
I tell you what, though, too, you do that. I think that also entices more talent to come to your team. You know what I'm saying?
It does
In a
and it
sense,
doesn't.
I think.
It does and it doesn't, because the only time you get to that level where like, oh man, I want to go play for them, is because
You have the quarterback.
you are winning.
Yeah.
You're winning.
Yes, yes.
Why do
I
you
get
think?
that
Why do you
there.
think
Yeah.
how many free agents go to the San Francisco 49ers now, or the Philadelphia Eagles, or like all these teams? Players pay attention all year. They don't just play themselves. They're also paying attention to around the league. And when they see like, hey, Tampa Bay, huh? They're up and coming. I'm a free agent next year. I'm kind of curious. Like this is a team that's kind of on the rise, or in the NFC. It's kind of an easier path to the playoffs. Maybe I'll think about going to Tampa. You have to be winning though.
Yeah.
Like you have to be either in the playoff hunt. You got to be a winning caliber team. So that's when that kind of conversation happens between players in the off season and all that. Like they pay attention to the league for sure. So it's like it's got to be the right situation for them. It's got to be a winning culture. Like that's where you start to see all these free agents flock to them. Look at the Patriots when they had their dynasty going.
Yeah.
How many free agents were willing to take less money just to go there?
Yeah. Yep.
Because they knew they were going to win chips.
Yeah. Yep. Here we go. Ed's got a few more. What does he say?
Ed's got a few more. Ed said, I think Sam Darnold looks like a stud this year. Calling it now, guy's 26 to 27 years old. That's if Jefferson stays with that roster. Sam Darnold has the potential to be a stud, and we've said this on this show even back in the Jet days. Like, we don't think that Sam Darnold
I was
got
actually
a
quoted
true-
on News Center 6 for saying something like that about
Yeah.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, we
It's
don't.
on television.
We don't think that Sam Darnold got his true shot at with the New York Jets or anywhere else he's been. Obviously, the Niners was backup. So, but for Sam Darnold, he could have a good year. We could maybe see him revitalize his career if he ends up the starter. Because as it sits right now, Minnesota, we've talked about this already a couple times this show, that they're looking to make a big move. They're looking to go get a big time rookie. So, but that doesn't mean that Sam Darnold won't end up the starter. So maybe we'll see that. Ed. Ed also said they are all rich who wants to be a rich loser. Mike
That's true.
Tackett from YouTube. What's going on,
He's
Mike?
both. He's working it, man.
He's working the lines.
He-
He said, I have a source very deep in the Steelers
Oh, wait,
organization.
hold on.
We have
Here he
breaking
is.
news.
Breaking news again. Mike Tackett.
By our
laying it
very
up.
own know-it-all.
Dude, he does, though, too. Again, didn't he call the one big move?
Yeah, he did.
last
He
season?
did.
He's got,
He called
he's got
us-
the ins.
He called the signing
the
before.
signing. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Here
He
we
goes,
go. What he's got.
They're making a big move. Should be completed before the draft.
Really?
There you go. Steelers are trying to go all in. Interesting.
Oh my God! Who the hell?
Very interesting.
cares?
Yeah, it could be.
They're making a big move for what, Mike? I need to know what position. You don't have to say names, obviously,
Yeah.
but like, I need a hint of something.
Yeah. What is the big move?
The
You
big
know what I mean?
move is Bobby Boucher's being signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody, you heard it here first.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what it could be? But yeah, I mean, they're making some moves in the offseason right now. With the free agency, like I said. So who knows?
Oh, they're good. They're good.
So yeah, we've discussed a lot
Appreciate
of different
you,
the quarterback moves, a couple of different teams. I think overall, Houston really made a lot of big moves. I think a lot of moves altogether.
A lot of smart moves. They made a lot of smart moves.
I mean, dude, holy crap! They drafted they signed 4 or 5 different corners and stuff like that. But all good pieces that if they end up panning out with some of these players that they grabbed too. I mean, and Danielle Hunter, who is a top pass rusher too, that didn't get the payday he wanted to for the Minnesota Vikings, still productive even last year on a contract year. Boom, comes to Houston Texans again, who were that team that wasn't expected to do a whole lot. We thought they were just building a little bit, and they bloomed prematurely. And now that they're getting this extra boost that they've got here, they got Joe Mixon now too in the backfield on top of it. Oh my gosh,
that's the thing too. Is you look at them building their roster out. Now most of those pieces are depth pieces. They're not necessarily starters. I mean, they still have Derek Stingley Jr. as a starter. But the depth is much improved, and this is what you're going to see with good teams. They're going to always look to improve. Even in depth spots, they're going to look to improve. So I think that with Houston, they've done a really good job of not trying to do too much in the second stint there with D'Amico Ryans. They're not trying to go for big money players and go and overspend and just fill a couple holes. They are looking to build this roster complete. So, and it's a lot of guys that some of them are returning. Noah Brown, the wide receiver, he ended up re-signing with Houston. So they're going to keep those guys together with C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell coming back from injury. He's also running at full speed by now, by the way. He said wide receiver?
That's crazy because I was talking to somebody, too, about the Steelers, and they've kind of known for drafting great wide receivers, though, too. So I didn't think they were going to make a move on a wide receiver. I thought they were just going to go for one in a draft at one point because, again, Deontay Johnson, they don't have him anymore. He moves on. Okay. They could get somebody else in there, but I thought they would go and attack it at the draft and not make a move for it, though.
Okay, so is Pittsburgh trading for Devontae Adams?
I'd say they're bringing back Antonio Brown. I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
No, nod your head.
Devontae
yes.
Adams, though.
Nod your head. Yes, Mike. If
blink.
If it's a
we got to do it by emojis or something like maybe you post an emoji if it's for warm. Yeah. There it is. You know what I mean? Like the thumbs up is if it's Devontae Adams. If it's
hold on,
Jefferson, it's smiley face.
Mike, they wouldn't trade for T. Higgins, right? Now it's interdivision. I can't see that happening.
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't do it interdivision.
No. I don't know. I don't know who could be. Anybody else that I know of that?
It's not Keenan Allen, that's for sure, because he's already been traded.
Yeah, I know. Do you think? No, I don't know. I don't even know if I'd go down that rabbit hole. But
I'd go Devontae. I would trade Devontae right now.
Yeah.
I would trade him. He said NFC.
NFC. I was gonna say maybe Brandon Ayuk again, seeing they were talking about it, but I don't know. What do you think of that?
I don't think John Lynch is going to trade Brandon Ayuk. I really don't.
Oh, wait. What's that?
Yeah, he's not saying anything.
Oh, zipping his lips? Is that what it is?
Yeah. He's not saying nothing.
Sealed. Don't know where to keep.
Nothing.
All right.
So what'd you just say?
Out there. I said Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah. I can't see that happening.
I don't know what other big kind of splash move, but
unless it's Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson like that. That'd be nuts. How about that? That'd be crazy. That means they are just willing. They're not willing to be a losing franchise. They are just not. They will not do it. Even though in the last 2 seasons I said this is potentially the first time since 1984, I think it was, that they're going to finish 4th in the division, and they still don't. They still found a way to keep winning. Mason Rudolph comes in, who has kind of been a bust, and was playing well.
Played amazing.
Gets him, yeah.
Played amazing,
and enough to even get him a little spot here in Tennessee to back up with Will Levis.
How about that? So my thing is they completely cleared the quarterback room and made room for Fields and Russell Wilson, moving on from both quarterbacks that they originally had.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Strange.
making some ballsy moves. That's for sure. Now,
It is.
will it all work out? That's the other
For
thing.
some reason, I feel like it's going to. It's just that's the way it seems like for Pittsburgh. Like I don't know. For some reason, with even though I try to call their demise, somehow they still kind of make something work where they're not horrible. You know.
I don't know.
But I don't know. A lot of speculation on it. We definitely appreciate you guys out there.
Thanks, Mike.
Quick time for a promo here. Why not? If you guys haven't yet, Ed's on here. That's the first time I think. That's the first time for Ed Sargent being here.
Ed's
so shout out to him.
really active today.
Actually, we really appreciate.
He's
that.
really active. Really
We definitely
appreciate
that. And if he hasn't yet, go to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, Joe. Right? You know,
Yes,
and hit the
sir.
notification bell when you. Let you know whenever we do go live, you know, which is going to be a lot more often now because we're back and a lot of stuff to talk about. So it's very exciting.
Yeah,
And spread the word. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got some things we're planning for this upcoming season. Again, our seventh season and
Seventh season.
moving on. Yeah. And doing a lot of different things. As opposed to moving forward with some different things, the NFL now is going to have their meetings and look over, the competition committee is going to look over rule proposals again. Here we go.
Stupid.
Yeah, here we go for some more rules everybody wants to change. We talked about this a little bit last season with some of the things they were like wanted to change, that hip drop tackle. We've heard people say a lot, especially even our comments in the comment section and people that watch us want to get rid of it. But then some people are almost like, well, then you're kind of hindering the defensive players too. And what else can they do? Because that's the attack zone that they can go after.
What do you want them
at
to
this
do?
point? Because you don't want to go for the knees, you
Okay.
know, on purpose, you know.
Yep. Okay. Let's just say this. They passed that, right? No hip drop tackle. No horse collar, right? That's illegal
Right,
already.
Right. Yes.
How are you supposed to tackle from behind?
Right.
When you're trying to chase a guy, how are you supposed to tackle?
Yeah.
You can't do the hip drop tackle. You get a penalty.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to resort to anyway. You're going to take the penalty because if it saves a touchdown, then you're going to do it. But it's like you're making the game so hard for a defender where it's almost like, you know what? You're not allowed to tackle. You're not allowed to hit people. You're not allowed to tackle them. We might as well put flags on them and play flag football at this point.
Right.
Because
Which
you're
is- looks like they're
literally
gearing towards.
ruining the game
Yeah.
from a defensive perspective. Like when it comes to quarterbacks, you can't even like graze their helmet. Like even if you don't hit them, you can't even like touch their helmet. You can't hit below the waist. You can't hit them in the face. You gotta, and you can't just freaking, you can't put your helmet into them because then that's spearing. You know what I mean? You can't land on them. Like what are you supposed to do? Oh, you got to swing them around and then lay them down. Like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Like that's a different version of a hip drop in a sense, because if I'm grabbing him and I'm swinging him over my body to throw him down, like,
Well, that ends up
it's-
being a personal foul though too. When they
What do you want
use
him
the
to do?
momentum and swing them down, I've seen that thrown as
What
a
do you want
personal
him to
foul
do?
too as well.
what do you want him to do?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
You're-
It
it's
makes it tougher
retarded.
for everybody, and I get they're trying to make things safe, but now they're making it too confusing. And
No, it's just not logically you can't
not-
do
yeah,
it.
It's unrealistic. Yes.
It doesn't
It's
make
unrealistic.
sense.
Yes.
You can't take away every way to tackle now or every way to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, listen, it because players are getting injured from a different way to tackle. Why do you think that started becoming a big thing? Because they're not allowed to hit them up high. So now they're like, all right, well, I'll just grab them around the waist and I'll drag them down. Because if the guy's going by you, how do you expect to tackle him now? I'm supposed to let him go for a touchdown? Like, come on. It's getting ridiculous. You got to wake up here, NFL. Stop changing the game too much.
So there's a lot of different proposals here going forward this year. That was one of them. That's probably one of the major ones. Tackling technique, that's one of them. I think one of the things was the kickoff too. The alignment of the kicker compared to the lineman and then the receiving backs. They want to move the kicking lines, like the defensemen or the gunners or whatever. There are no real gunners. Now it's kind of like the line shifted up to around the 40-yard line. There's two receivers or whatever people are going to receive in called the landing zone. They want to call it even too around
Between the 20 and the goal line?
Yeah. Around there, they call it the landing zone, and the kicker is back further to like the 35 by himself. So they're talking kicking it. He kicks it. Then I think once the receivers kind of get it in the landing zone, then the two lines clash and engage. There's no running at force and running with it. It's kind of weird.
That's stupid.
And I don't know even how that's going to be and how that even works as a line then. So what kind of push do you get? What kind of penetration will you get even as the kicking team? Like,
Stop trying to reinvent
Are they going
the
to
wheel.
just kind of touch each other and kind of rub? Like, are we really going to do a lot of blocking?
Stop,
What is going to happen of this whole thing?
Stop.
And what is that eliminating?
They're trying to reinvent it. Like, why? It's fine the way it is. It's fine the way it is. And honestly, they need to go back to because that's been a conversation too, as they were talking about going back to the traditional way of doing kickoffs, where to get more excitement out of fans, because fans are complaining about it, like, oh, we know every kick is going to go in the end zone because it's so short. We don't get to see returns anymore, because that's exciting. You never know when a guy's going to break it loose. So there's a discussion for that as well. So we'll see how they figure that all out.
All right, we've got a bunch of comments here.
Jeez. First, Ed said, let them knock each other out. Guys don't mind getting hit high. No, the players don't mind it because they know it's a tough game. They know what to expect. But it's just being governed way too much by referees in the NFL to make it like they're taking that element out of it, that violent element, or at least trying to anyway. Mike Taggart said Tom Brady on the rules bullshit. Yeah, exactly. Tom Brady also called the whole NFL soft. Mike Tackett, why do you do this to me?
I made the lettering bigger now, so now we can definitely read.
He goes, you hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily. Why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on fundamentals of these things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to the defensive player to protect the offensive player. Facts. The defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out. That's the reality. I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because he'd knock the receiver out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player. Like that's it goes hand in hand both ways. So like these guys know a collision's coming. You even see it. You even see receivers. That's why sometimes they get alligator arms, because they're like, oh, hit's coming. I'm going to try to, brace for the hit. So maybe they don't make the catch, but it's like they know. These players know that they're playing a rough game, that it's a violent game, that they know what to expect. They get paid millions of dollars because of this.
Yeah.
So with now that you have the league kind of they're trying, I understand they're trying to make the game safer, but you can't change the sport to make it safer. Like it doesn't become the same thing anymore. So like they're just going too far. We've talked about this 100 times about how every time they come up with a rule change, oh, it's for safety. Oh, it's for safety. Let's make it safer. Like, no. Let these guys play.
I like that voice. You should use that more often.
Just let them play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
and that's coming from Tom Brady himself, though, too. He's saying he put it on his shoulders even to not set them up to get that clobbering. Yeah. Even in our new show video now, too, you see a couple of those big hits, and they do get clobbered again. It's setting them up to get blindsided and things like that. And he tried to avoid that, except for when he was dealing with Wes Welker, I think, because Wes Welker just kept getting bashed to death. So. All right, we got Mike Tackett in the house, too. He says, I miss Dante Hall, Josh Cribbs,
Cordell Patterson, Devin Hester. They made returns fun. Absolutely. And that's where all the excitement was. Like, kickoff. You know what I mean? I was like, you had to be excited for kickoff because it's like you never know when it was going to happen. And then when it happened, it was like the greatest highlight of the week. You know what I mean? Like, it was awesome. So, I mean, and that's also what catapulted, like Devin Hester to the Hall of Fame. Is his ability to be able to be a phenomenal returner.
Mm-hmm.
So Ed says, you guys think year 2 with Texans offense is better or teams catch up? I know they had some injuries. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and everybody's going to catch up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like now they have a full year of tape to go back and look at Houston, how they attack them. You know, what do they like to do? What does CJ Stroud does he have? What kind of tendencies does he have, or what does he look for? So all that's going to come out. Now, the biggest thing for Stroud going forward is how does he counter that? Like, is he going to play more mind games now in his second year? You know what I mean? Where you think he's going to go here, and he's really going way over there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that'll be interesting to see the development of CJ Stroud too with that offense.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see the sophomore year, because even when they got to the playoffs, it was he struggled a bit too. So I mean, I think teams are going to try and go at him a different way and see how he faces that. I think it looks good for him because, like you said, even he got those depth pieces on top of it. So
yeah, Mike Taggart said, "Can we get that sound bite of Joe for future shows?"
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I can. I should have recorded it there, but I do record everything, so I'll just have to find it. I should have looked at the time log for it. So
excellent.
There you go.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make a better effort of doing some different
bites,
voices
yes.
and stuff.
I like it. You've been working on your impressions.
And then Edward said, "Hester best ever." There you have it.
He's one of the best.
You've heard it from Ed.
He said he's the best.
Ed thinks he's the best. Here's my
potentially just
here's
because
my
he's
thing.
in a Hall of Fame now for a kick
Right,
returner, so
right.
he's like the trendsetter.
I would just say, like, there was some guys that kind of like they were good, but they didn't last long.
Yeah.
You remember Trindon Holiday?
Whoa,
He was on the
yeah,
Broncos.
a little bit, yes.
He was
yes.
electric.
Yeah,
But like he didn't have a long career, so
No.
it was over pretty quickly.
Yeah, but even like the Dante Hall, like, I mean, that was big. And Josh
Dante Hall was
Cribbs
amazing.
was definitely when he was the guy. Like, he was the guy. Like, again, he was another guy that did, I think, better at wide receiver than Hester, but not very long, though, too, again. Like, he wasn't a great wide receiver.
I think
but he was a great returner, though.
Yeah, I don't think Hester was, I don't think Dante Hall was that great as a receiver.
No, I'm talking about Cribbs.
Oh, Cribbs. You're
Yeah.
talking about Cribbs.
Yeah.
Josh Cribbs, yeah. Even him as a receiver, he was kind of lackluster. Like
I know, but
for
I'm
his
just saying
explosion,
compared to Hester, though. I was just kind of putting in the comparison between those two.
I don't know. I would still kind of, if
on
I
the
had
same-
my choice,
same
I
base.
probably would still pick Hester.
Huh.
You know something too? Cordarrelle Patterson, right?
Yeah.
Cordarrelle Patterson could have been a phenomenal and actually seen as one of the best receivers in the league had he not be stupid.
Yeah.
Because I use a loose term there, but
It's like if he wasn't stupid.
but here's the thing with Patterson. The reason why I say that is because Patterson struggled with a lot of offensive playbooks, a lot of them, almost all of them.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the thing that held him back.
True.
When he was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, he had a very hard time learning the playbook. So he had to show out in kick returns. He had to show out in like these different weird formations, him getting the ball in his hand on jet sweeps and that type of thing, because he was just struggling with it. So my thing is, like, when you have a talent like that, like, I don't care if the guy is struggling to get the playbook or has never had to learn a playbook, and but he's got the talent. It's like, I understand the quarterbacks have a lot on their mind, but it's like when you have that kind of a talent who could be freaking like elite, but is never going to get there because he can't learn a playbook. Why don't you just bring him out in the huddle and be like, all right, Cordell, come here. Post.
Yes.
10-yard post. That's all you got to do.
Right?
You know what I mean? Just tell him.
Hey, we got Ed Sargent here, Joe.
That's right.
I'm like, he might even have to talk to some people. That you don't want to name names, in the league.
Ed's gonna have
he
to
might
get
have to do it that way with some people too, though. You know what I'm saying? So he's stupid. Right?
Hester
man.
best ever. Hall was close,
Nice
so he is
job,
stupid. No, I mean, like he's not stupid. If you take it literal, what I said, then Ed, you gotta tune into the show more often. And we do appreciate you being on the show. Like you're on pace here, Ed, to be donned one of the know-it-alls here.
Ooh, he's got to be.
You're on a tear here. Mm-hmm. But no, Mike. Mike Teka said, never forget Antonio Brown going full 300 on Browns punter Spencer Lanning. # in the face.
Now you pumped the bear.
That's right. Yeah, that was crazy, bro. Oh, you remember? So Richard Sherman, when he was his time with the Raiders, and the Raiders happened to be playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. I don't know what Big Ben said to Richard Sherman. He said something to him, and Richard Sherman turned around and popped him right in the helmet, just open palm, popped him, and it jarred him so much he collapsed. and here's the kicker though, the offensive linemen were right there, right next to Ben Roethlisberger. Guess what they did? Nothing.
Yep.
They didn't even go after Seymour. Nothing. They were like, "Oh, nope, we're good. We're not gonna interfere."
He probably said something racist.
Maybe.
Knowing Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know.
Maybe, or he said he was going to take his daughter out.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, knowing Big Ben. Sherman probably said, real tree sucks. And he's like, fuck you.
Ben called him that word.
He did.
Hard R.
Hard R. See,
ooh, he might have. That's probably.
I'm telling you, that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me. That sounds like something he would do. So right. I don't know. But all right, so we've had a lot of good conversations here. Again,
it's good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
Rules. What do you think about? I think I didn't realize they even had to do this, but they want to make amendments to expand the crackback, prohibiting crackback blocks for people that are in motion and running around to get, kind of ahead of speed and then go around in motion and then come up and then block. I thought that was already kind of implemented or something like that they couldn't crack block already.
It's not they're just blocking them.
Right. So I don't know. So now they're
that doesn't make any sense
or something like that.
Okay, now you can't have a lead blocker. Are you kidding me? Nah, come on, man. You can't be changing everything. Joe, you better wear your ring next show. Watching NCAA, been drinking. Later, boys. Love the show. Appreciate you, Ed. And thanks for all the comments and everything. Really appreciate you. Don, the know-it-all. Boom.
#know-it-all.
There you go. Yeah, and then what do you think about out of bounds before throwing a pass is reviewable? One of the things I think is allowing replay review when it's clear and obvious visual evidence that the game clock expired before any snap. That I think
happens
is
a lot.
Key.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it seemed like a year or so ago, all of a sudden it's like a baseball unwritten rule popped out of nowhere. We've been watching football our whole lives, and the play clock is the play clock.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, and amongst commentators out there, all of a sudden in broadcasting, you're like, well, they allow you that 1 second after, that
there's
hiccup
no such
after
thing as
0.
1
it's like,
second.
Where
Come
the frig
on.
did this come from?
No,
nobody's ever
it's all
told
made
me after 0, you're like, you get that little after. What is that? The zeros. It's a held silent 0. Like, what the hell is that, dude? 0, 0. 0. We can clearly see it.
Yeah.
And it's not like even there's a delay or like something off of what the 0 is, that invisible first down marker line that we look at where people dispute, well, that was a first down. It was over the yellow line.
Right.
This is the play clock. You get a visual of what the play clock is. And when you obviously see it 0, everybody is seeing it on the broadcast.
Right. Yeah,
Quarterbacks get to see it right there in front of you because it's on the end zone, from the end zone. It's there, and it's even up on the screens around everywhere. You should know this. And the fact that they've kind of made this weird unwritten rule, and now they're like, oh, we're going to make an amendment now to look at this.
Nah, stop that. Stop
it. Should have already been a rule. It is a rule. Just
stop.
start to enforce it. You know what I mean?
It's
that's bothered me because there's even in the Super Bowl a bunch of plays where that had happened, where it was beneficial to one team. That it's key. It's key if they're able to get that play off, and it's a big key
Yeah,
play
right.
when it was clearly 0.
Like it's happened numerous times where it ends up turning out to be a touchdown play.
Yes.
And it's like, and
because
then
that even gives even a team, and maybe they shouldn't,
Yeah.
but even defense, they're watching it, and they're trying the ball and stuff like that, but then they're kind of like, well, now it's going to be a delay of game, and then they're just not, ready for it, think of some, almost like, not as much as like when teams fake the clock stop or the kneeling and then run a play, like we also saw. What was it? Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Which had he doesn't have a job, head coaching anymore. But it's, I don't know.
he's an
It's,
offensive coordinator.
He's an offensive coordinator. He's back to what he does best. Not really, but sure.
No.
But that's another thing I think is interesting here.
Well, my problem with that is that it's on the referees because if we go back 20 years, you don't see that. That doesn't happen. Once the clock expires and it's 0, they're throwing flags and blowing whistles and that's it. They don't allow for any kind of half a second or thing after. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. If the clock is 0, blow the whistle. Even if the ball is as it's being snapped, like you should kill it. Like that's it. They took too much time. So referees have to be held accountable, which we know they won't be. So until that happens, like we're going to still continue to see this kind of crap. Like if they implement a rule for that to be reviewed, which I think they should, because with today's referees, we see them screw up way more often now on calls. And a lot of times it's stuff that you can't review. You know what I mean? So it's like, screw the whole, how about we just get the games right? Screw the whole idea of like, oh, well, we don't want to be too long of games. I don't think any fan would complain about the games being longer. Maybe the players, but not the fans.
Yeah.
So let's get the game right. Let's review and look at that pass interference call. Let's go and look at, was his feet in or out? Did he actually catch the ball? Like, let's look at those things and make a judgment. Because then if you make the wrong judgment, then we can just say, oh, you suck at making judgments. You're a terrible referee. Then we can just blame you. You know what I mean? As a ref.
Yeah.
But you're allowing plays to happen or things to continue where it's like, okay, well, we can't even review it. Sorry. Like, what is that? Like, let's get the games right, guys.
Oh yeah, and that there's a couple different rules too that they're talking about too with that. That's official ones that are coming over with just seeing the NFL they want to look at, which again kind of seem like rules that should have already kind of been enforced. I think even one of them is runner down, quarterback down by contact or out of bounds is a review. They're looking to try and make it a reviewable play now because you've seen multiple times to where. Guy throws it. Maybe it's a fumble or whatever, or it's this, or a runner was out of bounds and they threw it. He was already down by contact. He was already out of bounds, so it didn't matter or whatever. And you kind of like, all right, they just take their word for it. That's what they said, and now it's over. There is no dispute. You can't
review
dispute
it or anything. You can't do anything.
Now they're looking to change that, which might be beneficial.
I think the more reviews allowed, the better. Screw it.
In a sense, but it's just funny because when you also bring up the fact that the penalties they want to keep adding for things like that, and then now maybe reviews, you're talking about speeding up the game. You're only going to slow it down, I think, with all the penalties that are going to be thrown, and then also the reviews that are going to be having maybe.
You're not going to speed the game up.
Yeah,
You're just not.
You're not. It is what it is. Mike Tackett says eliminate the 10-second runoff. I think that should be a rule too as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a dumb rule. I think that is real
dumb because again, it's the referee's fault.
Yeah, you guys screwed it up.
It's the ref's fault. Yeah. Right? Like, so what should the penalty be? We should penalize the refs. Now, what would a good penalty be on it instead of a 10-second runoff?
Yeah.
How about we have maybe the refs do something else? Maybe they have to run a sprint the whole length of the field and come back or something. Or just maybe one of them has to leave and they get kicked out of the rest of the game or something different.
We should make them do push-ups.
Right? They surrender a game check. Something, something.
Ooh,
how about that? Because that's a major thing. Because again,
they'll never go for it.
When we even see that happen, it's around where it's a scoring play right there at the end of the game, and then it ends the game instantly for the other side because they screwed it up. Besides,
that's messed up
because the way they called it,
right?
Or at least make it reviewable, so then there is no, and then once it's found that they were wrong, no 10
push-ups.
So, yeah, something.
Referees got all of them as a
I
crew.
agree with Mike Tackett to that,
a
but
crew.
some of the things that make sense aren't always the things that happen though. I've called for the whole pass interference thing to happen. They have it.
It's
one year they made
never
a mockery of it, and it didn't even.
They should have
didn't
kept
happen.
it.
So
Just like
but they
just
weren't
like-
going to enforce it. So
Just like they should have
mocked it.
kept full-time referees.
Right. Now that I brought up a few of them. Now these are some that
Yeah.
clubs have brought up as proposals.
Okay,
which I think
proposals.
are good ones. Yeah, because all these are all proposals. They aren't even set in stone. They're going to vote on
No,
them.
they have to talk
and then we'll
about it
see
and all
what
that.
happens.
Yeah.
All
At the meetings.
right. How about this one? How about the Indianapolis Colts had said? How about they permit a coach or replay official to inside 2 minutes to challenge any foul that's been called? Any foul, not even just penalty. Like any play that has happened with first downs or was there any foul? Because how many times? Again, have we seen these mystery fouls in the last remaining seconds or minutes of games within 2 minutes?
Are we
that
talking
just-
penalties?
Yeah, they're talking fouls. Yes, penalties.
Okay. Because I didn't know if we were playing basketball or if we're still
Well,
talking
that's
about
what they
football.
call it in their
You know
their terms.
They don't know. Don't listen to them,
Yes.
Jim.
Amends Rule 15, Section 3 to permit a coach to replay an official inside 2 minutes to challenge any foul that has been called.
Stupid.
You know what I mean?
Just call it for what
Yes,
it is.
yes,
It's a penalty, guys.
yes.
Or a flag. Say
So what do
flag.
you think about that? That they're able still to have a challenge about
Under
it?
2 minutes?
In between the 2 minutes, yes, under 2
And
minutes. yes.
under 2 minutes, is that like unlimited? Like you can just every penalty you
Well,
could,
I don't know. Can you get at least one? Because you're not able to do any at this point. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they give you one.
Well, that's because the NFL is supposed to stop the play and review something.
The
I don't think
officials
you can.
from the
You've
NFL.
never been able to review a penalty ever.
Right.
You can't. You can't do that because then it's like, oh well, now we're gonna look. Okay, then the reports are gonna come out about this crew calls it this way in
Yes.
under 2 minutes,
Right.
and this crew calls it that way. So we better be prepared for this crew. Like it's gonna get to the point where it already is there,
Yes.
where it's a little ridiculous. So I don't think you can. I don't think you should be able to do that. no.
Okay. All right. Now, Philadelphia Eagles to permit a team to maintain possession of the ball after a score by substituting one offensive play, 4th and 20 from the kicking team's 20-yard line, for example, for an onside kick attempt.
4th and 20.
Mm-hmm.
It's not far enough. 4th and 20 is definitely attainable.
Yes.
Like a lot of the better offenses could easily get 4th and 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand if you don't get it, you're screwed because
Right.
now you're giving the ball back right there. But 4th and 20, that's not unfathomable.
Right.
Make it 4th and 30.
Right. Something. Yeah.
Make it
'Cause
like
again, the chances of an onside kick
right.
attempt are way farther away than a 4th and 20 still.
Yeah,
I mean, I
I-
don't care
I
whatever
say-
statistics you might
I
have.
say you leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
Listen, onside kick, it's an exciting part of the game. I know it's very rare when it happens, but when it
That's what
happens,
makes it
it's like,
great.
holy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you get that that boost of juice there. You know what I mean? So I think that they should just leave the onside kick alone.
Yep.
I wouldn't try to alter it and do 4th and 20. Like that's okay. That rule right there is kind of like flag football.
Mm-hmm.
Like for an onside kick in flag football, you have one opportunity, and to get this, you have one opportunity to get it to midfield. That's what you got to do in flag. You got to get it to midfield, not 20 yards. Midfield, that's 40-yard line. It's 40 yards. So if flag football is doing 40 yards, you have to make a pass or whatever. You have to get to that 40-yard line to do it. The NFL is saying, 4th and 20. These guys are professionals, and they're doing it 20 yards. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It would be easier to get. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Yep.
I don't want it to be easier. It's good the way it is. It rarely happens. When it does happen, it's amazing, and it's like, this changed the whole game now. You know what I mean? So just leave the excitement factor in there. At 4th and 20, come on. Teams, offenses now make that in their sleep. Good ones anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And then I mean a couple others are just not really that
Not worth
important,
talking about?
I guess. I mean, one's I think protect the Lions to protect the club's ability to challenge a third ruling following one successful challenge. So you get a challenge back, but I think they already kind of do that. So it's just they're looking to keep it to protect their ability to do that. Okay.
Like, is that an extra one?
I don't. Yeah, they give you like an extra one if you have two
No, you
right ones.
you
right?
just hold on to that. You
just
get
hold
that
on
one
to it.
back.
Yeah, get it back. That's right.
So you still have two.
Yeah.
You don't get an extra one.
maybe
So
you get
it
an
sounds
extra
like
one.
that
They wanna
might be
get
a
an extra
third one.
Yep.
Because you got it right.
Yes. Yeah.
No, you don't get rewarded because you got it right. Like, we're not going to keep. Oh, you get. I have 3 challenges left.
Yes.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Come
yeah.
on.
And then the other one, which I'm trying to figure out what this is. I'd have to look at the article maybe of what the rule 9, section 2, article 2. It says to eliminate the first touch spot after the receiving team possesses the ball. Now, is that when they kick it and then it rolls and then they're waiting for it and then they finally touch it and that's where it is? So what are they looking to eliminate though? I mean, like what do I mean?
To eliminate
don't touch
that?
it. So yeah, so what is it that they have to jump on it? It's not going to be a touch. Like somebody like the receiving team needs to get it, and it's
They're just
you know
not
what I mean?
allowed to touch it.
I don't know what they're trying to make as an amendment. So I
So
I would have to
that's
look
what it
into
sounds like. Is they're
Yeah.
trying to do away with
The downing
guys
it.
going down to down
Down
it.
it, yeah.
But that's stupid because then if you kick it, it's like, okay, well, that's it. We kicked it, and the guy didn't receive it, so we just let it bounce around or whatever.
I guess what? And then what? Sit and what?
If it goes in the end zone, it's a touchback. If
I
it goes
guess.
out of bounds,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
And
If it
nobody
stops,
makes an effort. Like there goes the ball.
like, okay,
you guys got it now.
Listen.
From wherever it lands.
surround him.
Perhaps.
Surround him. Don't let him out.
Oh boy.
Okay, the ball. Did the ball stop yet? Ref, are we done playing yet? Like,
Excellent.
That's just weird. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Oh well. So all right. So
Maybe we don't fully understand what they're trying to say, but it sounds awfully strange.
Yep. Sometimes we never do.
And we get those every year. There's like certain teams that come up with the most asinine freaking idea where you're like, wait, what? You want to do, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Absolutely. So, Joe,
Yes, sir.
that's it for our show tonight.
Definitely.
We had a real good time. It was nice coming
Yeah.
back. We had some good
Thanks
talks
to
with a lot of
everybody
our
in the
know-it-alls
comments
out there.
That was awesome. Mike he showed up. Mike even dropped a news bomb on us.
He did. He's got
A
it.
little bit of inside information from the old Mike Tackett. This sneaky
would
guy,
maybe
he
take
knows
it for
some
truth.
things. Listen, if Mike speaks it, you better pay attention. That's all I'm saying.
Know-it-alls.
And Ed joined us tonight. Big shout out to him. He was very active in the comments. Really appreciate it. And others. And I say others because you guys didn't comment enough, so you need to comment more. But anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Listen, do us a huge favor. Spread the word. Have everybody head over to YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell in case you really like us that much to let you guys know when we go live. And, of course, like, share, all that good stuff. You can also follow us anywhere you get your podcasts, and we will see you next week.
One quick thing. I was just
Oh,
getting
wait, pause.
before
Hold
we
on.
do. That
Hold
was a
on,
great.
wait.
That was a great ending. I like.
Do I
that.
gotta do this
Appreciate that.
again?
No, but that was a good one. I'll cut it and I'll post it and then I'll paste it right in. So like this
Can I-
never happened.
I mean, I could do it. I could change it up, Jim, if it wasn't good enough.
Perhaps, but
Okay.
I know Mike is commenting too, so I want to give him his due again. He brings
Yes.
up a couple of factors here before we call it a day.
Okay.
Because we love a little XFL talk.
yeah,
though,
yeah.
Too. We
Mike
know Mike
said,
loves it. So
Mike
here we
said-
go. Bring back the scramble. I think from the original XFL.
Yeah.
That will not happen again because I think of safety. Remember the Orlando player separating his shoulder in the first ever scramble? Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why.
And that's why they won't. They're talking about making it safer, Mike, and you're trying to make it more dangerous. You know, it is more exciting. Yes, we get that. But yeah,
It's
they're
like
just trying to
okay,
eliminate
who
that.
has rugby experience? Because
Yes.
those are the guys you should recruit for that portion of the game. Like we're
Yes.
like, get in the scrum, get
Yes.
the ball.
Yep, absolutely. So yes, we're excited for our 7th season here. It's going to be
Yeah.
a good one. We got a lot of different plans and stuff we're planning for
Yes.
you guys. So we're excited to do it along with you guys. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.